Yesterday, the Royals hit the midway point of the season, and Trey Hillman's midterm grade for his defense is an A. The Royals manager promised his team would catch the ball, and they have. Today against the Cardinals, the Royals go for their 5th straight series win on FSN Kansas City. Interleague play comes to a close this afternoon, and at 13-4, it's been a great run for the Royals against the National League, and split, it's been a great year for the entire American League.
Ryan, I thought this was the year that the National League was supposed to get a little bit closer, and that was kind of the thought, because over the last couple of years they've had a lot of young players come into their league. But you look at these numbers, the American League with a big-time winning percentage over the Nationals, and I'm not sure the numbers are any closer now than they have been the last couple of years. But hey, one more day of play, let's see how it finishes up.
And now on a gorgeous Sunday afternoon, the Royals have a chance to take a series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Ryan Lefevre along with Paul Splittorff. And yesterday was a midway point. The Royals played their 81st game. The All-Star break is still a couple of weeks away, but we are at the midway point in regard to the schedule. Question was asked to me, I'll pass it on to you. The Royals record really is just a little bit better than it was last year, but there's a feeling around here that the Royals are a better team. Why is that?
Well, let's break it down. And offensively, I think you could look at the team batting average and the doubles and say that there is more juice in the guys' bats. I think they're hitting the ball harder into the gaps and running the bases aggressively, and I think that's a plus. You know, home run's probably always going to be down here in Kansas City as long as it's 410 feet to straight up center field and 390 into the gap. So home runs down a little bit. I think a lot of that has to do with the dimensions here at the K.
All right, let's ask the Royals all-time winner in victories. What do you think about the 5-man starting rotation?
I like it a lot better now than I did at the start of the season. I thought it was good at the start of the year. I thought it had some real potential, but I like the top 3. All those guys have made their start every 5 day out. They've all pitched in tandem there, no breakups in anything. And I like the rotation better now because it's younger. We had Brett Tomko, John Bale in the rotation beginning of the year. Now you get a little younger. Luke Hochhaver made a great impression in spring training. Kyle Davies got back to the big leagues. So now you got Gil Mesh as the leader of the staff. Everybody else in there still got that tag of prospect, and I like the future.
And then defensively, Trey Hillman, before the game today, gave his defense an A for the first half of the season. Royals had a bad night on defense last night, and it really has been a strength of theirs in the first half.
So let's back up 2 days and see what they did against Gil Mesh, because I thought the defense, especially strong early in the game, kind of set the tone for the rest of the night. Albert Pujols, his first time up, didn't play in St. Louis against Kansas City, has here in this series. Tien makes that great play in the first inning. John Buck battles it to the death there at the railing. Joey Gathright continues to run the gaps in center field. Michael Aviles is probably the biggest current surprise with his ability to go out and play defensively at shortstop. So great defense here on game 1, not so good last night.
Kyle Davies did not get the same plays that Gil Mesh did.
Well, he certainly did, and this was really the surprise because the Royals let a couple opportunities get away. That was big. It leads to a Cardinal run, had a legitimate chance to get a double play. Joey Gathright gets a real bad break on this one. Broke back, needed to break in. It drops in center field. That gets another runner home. So all of a sudden, that's 2 runs that the Cardinals really didn't have to blast to get home. And then this play at home plate, they've got an out right there if you just hold on to the baseball. And that one bounced away. So that's 3 runs on the board that the Cardinals didn't necessarily have to have.
This afternoon on the mound, it's Brian Bannister, and it's a day game. And Banny has done some of his best work in the afternoon this year. 5 of his 6 wins coming in the afternoon. We'll talk more about him right after this. Royals baseball on FSN Kansas City is brought to you by your Midwest Ford dealers, home of America's most trusted cars, trucks, SUVs, and CUVs. A windy day at Kauffman Stadium. Brian Bannister on the mound. Can you explain why he's done so well in afternoon games?
I'd have to say it's coincidence so far because I don't have a real answer, because I think he is about as steady as they come with his mechanics, with his stuff, with his game preparation, everything you would expect to see consistency. It's been anything but that with that day record like it is. Good thing this is a day game here this afternoon, the wrap-up game of this series.
The one night game that Brian Bannister won this year was against the Cardinals back on June the 18th. And that was a duel with Braden Looper, who takes the mound for the Cardinals this afternoon. Looper a no decision in that game, but he pitched well, just like Bannister, giving up just 1 run in 7 innings. Final game of the I-70 series is coming up next. Today's game is brought to you in HD by Time Warner Cable, with 148 free HD shows in prime time every week. Time Warner Cable is the home of free HD. As Brian Bannister misses outside to Skip Schumacher, and we're underway. Final and deciding game of the series. The Royals winning 7-2 on Friday night. Cardinals coming back last night winning 5-1. One and two, says home plate umpire and crew chief Mike Winters. 2 for 9 in this series. Schumacher with a run scored. Two and two. Brian Bannister beating the Cardinals on June the 18th, giving up 2 runs in 7 innings. And in 2 career starts now against St. Louis, he's won both, giving up just 2 runs in 14 innings.
Brian, this is a rematch of what we had a week and a half ago with Bannister going against Braden Looper. Royals won that ball game, as you mentioned.
And 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Other conditions about like last night. Wind continues to blow, kind of from the left field foul pole to the right field pole. It'll help the balls hit the right. It'll knock the ones that left down.
Tough play of Vilas. Good play of Vilas.
Well, Avila's been a nice find for the Royals here in the first half of this year. He swung the bat great, and he's been everything you could have asked for at shortstop for the Royals.
And the Royals defensively today brought to you by Dodge.
Rudzelanic is the other middle infielder. It's Glode Gordon covering the corners. John Buck's behind the plate today. De Jesus, Gathright, and Tian in that Royals outfield from left on over to right.
So the game begins with a good defensive play. And as we highlighted at the top of the broadcast, it was not a good defensive game for the Royals last night, committing 2 errors. Didn't read a ball well in the outfield. 2 errors last night for the Royals. Only 6 times in the entire first half the Royals had more than 1 error in a game. And they did not have one single game where they had more than 2 errors. And Trey Hillman chatting with the media before the game today, giving his defense an A grade for their play on defense in the first half.
There have been many days in the 81 games, Ryan, where you could say that defense was not really solid all the way around.
Ross Glode gets a nice big hop. Aaron Miles is retired, and 2 ground ball outs for Brian Bannister, who's going up against this lineup today, brought to you by M&I Bank.
We've seen Skip Schumacher and Aaron Miles, the 1 and 2 hitters. Now here's Albert Pujols, the designated hitter today. Rick Ankiel bats 4th, followed by right fielder Ryan Ludwig. Chris Duncan is at first base. Adam Kennedy hits 7th. He'll play 2nd. Jason LaRue will do the catching today, and Brendan Ryan is the Cardinal shortstop. He'll hit 9th.
And the Rico starting pitch report on Brian Bannister.
Well, not only pitching well in the daytime, but also pitching well at home this year. The 5-2 record and 2.5 earned run average. Already mentioned that this is a rematch from a game played a week and a half ago, a night game over in St. Louis. Lefties hitting .294 against Banny. The right-handed hitter is about 50 points less.
2-0 now for Pujols. Just 1 hit so far in the first 2 games. He's been on base 3 times with a couple of walks, leading to that .481 on base percentage. 2-1. 55 walks, 19 of those intentional. That's the most in the National League. We are witnessing probably the best ever beginning to a major league season. Albert Pujols last year with his 7th consecutive season with a .300 average, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs to begin a career. He was the first in major league history to do it 3 straight seasons. So nobody's done it 4 times. Pujols has done it 7 times.
Isaiah Kindo is the third base coach for the Cardinals. He plays rather deep and trying to stay out of the Deadpool hitter's look. There's a rule you're supposed to stay in the coach's box. Well, he can really see it from there.
And Pujols gets that in between the line and Gordon. He's into second base with a 2-out double. So first extra base hit for Pujols in this series. Runner at second, 2 down.
Bannister trying to keep the ball away and down from Pujols. Left that one up and in the middle part of the plate. Gordon was guarding the line. That's how sharply that ball was hit. Guard the line, and he still hit it hard enough to get by Alex between his glove and that third base line.
Now Rick Ankiel hit a 2-run home run last night. Beautiful day. It is windy. 80 degrees. Almost no humidity. Game started at 1:10. Time and temp brought to you by the parking spot at KCI. And a changeup is hit hard. Grudzielanek knocks it down and throws out Ankiel. Cardinals leave a runner at second base. No score. Now the Royals' hottest hitter will bat first against the Cardinals this afternoon. A 13-game hitting streak for David DeJesus. And he's also leading the American League with a .463 average with runners in scoring position. Here's the Royals lineup today, brought to you by M&I Bank.
David right back up at the top, followed by shortstop Mike Aviles. Alex Gordon hits third. Then it's the designated hitter Jose Guillen. Mark Grudzielanek back at second base today, followed by Mark Teahen, the right fielder. Ross Glode bats seventh. John Buck does the catching. Joey Gathright bats ninth. He plays center.
Those two 15-game hitting streaks for David DeJesus, the previous career highs coming in his rookie season. And he broke the previous record that was held by Mark Quinn. Remember that name? 4 hits in this series for DeJesus, including a couple of doubles. 1 ball, 1 strike from right-hander Braden Looper. Back on June the 18th, in that duel with Brian Bannister, Braden Looper a no decision, but in 7 innings gave up only 5 hits and 1 earned run.
And got 13 ground ball outs during that stretch. He's one of the better sinker ballers around. Made the transition from relief pitcher to starter last year. In fact, he was even a reliever and a closer in college, so pretty much a reliever throughout his career until midseason a year ago.
He has 103 career saves. And when he made his first start last year, that snapped a string of 572 consecutive appearances out of the bullpen. That's the 3rd longest streak in Major League history to have that many relief appearances interrupted by a start. DeJesus started to swing, able to check. No appeal down to the third base umpire Marvin Hudson. Here's the Rico starting pitch report on Braden Looper.
Former first-round pick, but again picked as a reliever at that time. Primarily a 2-pitch pitcher, a fastball and a slider. You see the breakdown of starts and relief outings. 8 full years as a closer in the big leagues or a setup man before getting into the starting rotation.
He doesn't walk many. That's just his 23rd in 96 innings. And the Royals have DeJesus at first. Mike Aviles coming up, and we look at the Cardinals defensively, brought to you by Dodge.
One of the best defenses in the National League is headed by Schumacher in left field, Ankiel in center. Ludwig plays right. It's Duncan at first base. Kennedy Ryan are the 2 middle infielders. Miles moves over to third base for this afternoon's game. And Jason LaRue, the former Royal, is their backup catcher in there today.
Mike Aviles without a hit on Friday, came up with 2 hits last night. Royals are 14-8 with Mike Aviles in the starting lineup.
Trey Hillman asked in his session with the media before the game today his most pleasant surprise about this team. He said, well, my biggest concern was this team would go in the tank after that 12-game losing streak, but started to feel the positive vibes when the club went on the road to interleague play a couple weeks ago. Started out at Arizona. He said the way they played that weekend, thought they could come back. He's really pleased with the way this club has rebounded from a very difficult part of their season schedule, which was the later part of May and early into June.
The Jesus not going anywhere. 6 stolen bases for David this year. He's been thrown out 5 times.
And Braden Looper might have given that one away right there. His delivery looked totally different on that pitch out than it does when he delivers a regular pitch. A good base runner will read that every time.
3 balls, no strikes. So Looper, who was ahead of DeJesus at 1.1 and 2, is now missed with 6 straight pitches. Coming into today, Looper had just 1 walk in his last 28 innings. 3 balls, 1 strike. He will give up his share of hits, over 100 hits allowed by Looper. DeJesus running on a 3-1 pitch, and that's ball 4. So 1 walk in his last 4 starts coming in today, and he walks the first 2 that he faces.
And Ryan, because he doesn't walk many, it's really important for the Royals to cash this one in. Dave Duncan, I'm sure, surprised with Looper being out of the strike zone as much as he has been with the first 2 hitters. Now the Royals in the heart of their lineup really need to get off to a good start here this afternoon.
Cashing in was a problem for the Royals last night. They had chances against Mitchell Boggs early in the game. A walk and a single in the first, 2 walks in the second. Another base hit in the third, but couldn't get any runners across home plate.
And then in the middle innings, he had 1, 2, 3 innings in the innings 4 and 6. Royals got just 1 base runner in those 3 innings, so he got hot into the middle part of the game, but got over a couple important hurdles early.
I think Alex Gordon believed that pitch was a little bit low. Big night for Alex was the win on Friday. A home run, a double, and 4 RBIs. No balls, 2 strikes.
Alex hadn't been a big RBI man on this homestand. You mentioned the 4 RBIs in this series, just 6 on the homestand so far, but he's been on base a lot. He scored a lot of runs. In fact, 14 runs scored in the last 18 games for Gordon.
Now has to hit himself out of an 0-2 hole. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Former Wichita State Shocker Braden Looper, who is from Oklahoma, born in Weatherford, Oklahoma, and gets Alex on a fastball at 90 miles an hour. So a lot of non-contact plate appearances, 2 walks and a strikeout, and up comes Guillen.
Set up that last fastball with a changeup on the previous pitch, so he's got Alex thinking off speed stuff, then able to slip the fastball by him. That's the last thing the Royals needed right there, was a strikeout.
And Jose Guillen, who's been so hot against the National League and really since the early parts of May, now 0 for his last 13. The escape hatch, if you will, for Mitchell Boggs in the bottom of the first inning last night was getting Jose Guillen to bounce into a double play with runners at first and second and 1 out, and that's the same situation Guillen has today. Mitchell Boggs improving to 3-0 with that line. On the ground, left side, and that's through. DeJesus going to be waved home. Schumacher's throw to the plate is on line, and DeJesus takes out LaRue, who hangs on. So in the last 2 days, the Royals have had a runner thrown out at home plate.
Cardinals' Yadier Molina had a place very similar to this, but before the Royals got over to St. Louis, got a concussion. LaRue has this completely blocked off. I don't think David ever touched home plate. In fact, he might have ended up bruising his hip as he fell on the batting helmet after the collision. And right across the top of it, LaRue knocked down, but had the plate completely sealed off.
Catcher always instructed to keep his mask on for a home plate collision or a possible play at the plate. Every other play, the first thing a catcher usually does is take the mask off. So 2 down, runners first and second for Mark Grudzielanek. Grudzielanek 1 for 7 in this series with a double. One ball, one strike. Looper has pitched most of his career in the National League, so every Royal in the starting lineup today has seen very little of him, but Grudzielanek has had 13 career at-bats against Braden Looper and done very well. 1-2.
Wouldn't you think most hitters would rather see a guy as a starter where they've got a chance to see him 3 times in one day to get a good read at it? The way the relievers are now, it's just one shot. You've got a bridge man, then you've got the setup man, then you've got the closer. The most they might face would be 4 hitters, maybe 5 hitters in an outing. It's going to be tough to get plate appearances for a guy against a guy who's been a career relief pitcher. Tough to get a good book on that guy.
Another reason why the videotape has become such a valuable resource, not just because of the available technology, but because of that. I mean, in your era when you played and guys were routinely going 8 or 9 innings, you might get 4 or 5 at-bats against one guy every night. That is just foul off to the first base side.
And there's so much with this videotape and all. I mean, they study the mechanics, they study the delivery, and see if there's anything that a pitcher is doing to tip off what the pitch might be. They're also really studying the pitch sequences. Is there a history? Is there something that he does on a regular basis so that you can maybe get a step ahead of him, do some guess heading, if you will? It's things like that right there. Just record every move.
Into shallow right field, but Kennedy has a beat on it and makes the catch. So again, the Royals threaten in the first, get a couple of walks and a hit, but no runs. David DeJesus feeling more like a football player during this homestand with collisions at home plate. This is with Tim Lincecum of the Giants on Sunday, upending him. And then going in high this afternoon against former Royal Jason LaRue. And Split, you made a good point watching that replay a little slower. DeJesus could have injured himself or at least bruised himself badly after bowling over LaRue, landing on top of the helmet. David has a good read on a line drive from Ryan Ludwig. 1 down in the second inning. Budweiser presents What's on Tap. Royals 9-game homestand coming to a close today. Now 8 games on the road against a couple of teams in the American League East. The Orioles, who have given the Royals a bad time the last couple of years, and the surprising Tampa Bay Rays. And the Royals are home against Chicago and Seattle. And then the 4-day All-Star break, which begins 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Not everybody has the 4 days off at the All-Star break. Cardinals are a team that has a 3-day break. They get back at it a day before the Royals do. I think this is the first year the Royals have had the 4 days off, isn't it?
Last year.
Last year was the first year.
Now, why doesn't every team have a 4-day break?
That's something that's kind of new to baseball. It used to be the standard. Had to be back in your town on Wednesday for a workout that afternoon. That's now an optional workout, where some of the teams had to travel. That was a travel day for them. Then teams started getting Thursdays off, and the other teams looked around and said, you know, that's a great idea. Why don't we all get that?
Duncan off the fist, pops out to Aviles. Well, if anything, how about the guys who play in the All-Star game, giving them a little break?
And how about the guys like DeJesus who play every day and just kind of get those bruises that you get? Check out as he falls to the ground here and lands on the helmet right in the low rib cage area, maybe in the upper hip area, and he's out there moving around in the outfield like he's still bruised. He has constant movement since he took the field to play defense. That's a good 3 or 4 days for guys to get over the nicks and cuts and bruises and things that you pick up just through the daily routine and the grind of playing this game for 15 weeks. Much needed time off.
Ball 1 to Adam Kennedy. 2-0 from Bannister. Here's the Roadrunner turbo speed pitch for the first inning for Bannister and Looper.
Braden Looper wants enough velocity to make that sinker effective. Bannister wants enough velocity to set up his curveball and a straight changeup.
Double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. An oddity for Bannister. When he beat the Rockies on Monday, he walked 6. And now he walks his first on a close 3-0 pitch. And Kennedy down to first with 2 outs. Brings up Jason LaRue, who bats for the first time in the series. LaRue batting at .229 after hitting .148 for the Royals last year, and then when the Royals were in St. Louis, LaRue was just below .200, so his bat's starting to warm up with the summer weather.
He's got 3 multiple hit games in his last 6 outings, so his average has definitely moved up. He was hitting in the mid 180s a couple of days over in St. Louis when he caught every game, filling in for Yadier Molina, who was out with that concussion. Talking about Bannister and the walks that he gave up his last time out, and Trey Hillman talking about that today. He says, always concerned when you've got a location pitcher giving up walks, especially with a team that has got some thump. Cardinals have some thump when you look at guys like Pujols and Ankiel and Ludwig in the middle of their lineup. All of them in double digits and home runs hit already this year.
That ball's hit hard to right field. The wind will push it, and Jason LaRue with an opposite field home run. Third home run of the year for LaRue and a 2-0 St. Louis lead.
He's been a big factor already here this afternoon, sealing off the plate and getting the tag out of DeJesus, trying to score on a base hit, and now a 2-run home run here, wind aided or not. That's a big turn in this ball game. The Royals don't get a run on the bottom of the first. The Cardinals get 2 early in the second inning. Bannister's given up his 12th home run of the season.
Comes back with a strike to Brendan Ryan. Now there's pretty good evidence that the wind helped that fly ball from LaRue, but that was not a wall scraper. That ball hit near the back wall of the Royals bullpen. And now Brendan Ryan on a 1-1 pitch. Singles to center field. That's his first hit of the series. So with 2 outs and nobody on, a walk, a 2-run home run, and a single.
And Ryan, the Cardinals getting it done in the lower third of their batting order. Kennedy's the number 8 hitter. He's got the 2-out walk, and then Jason LaRue, a high ball hitter. Got a pitch belt high, maybe even a little bit higher. Able to extend his arms and hit it in the air the opposite way. And that's a good direction to go here this afternoon with the wind blowing that way. It'll take a little ride on the wind, plus it'll push it to the shorter part of the ballpark.
Brendan Ryan is running, and John Buck guns him down. The Cardinals get 2 on the Jason LaRue home run and take the lead. A couple of sellouts for the first 2 games of this series. 36,000 on Friday, 37,000 last night. Doing some tailgating on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. A mix of some blue and red. Another good crowd here today. Cardinals with a 2-0 lead on Jason LaRue's home run in the second inning. And Braden Looper jumps ahead of Mark Teahan. 1 for 6 in this Cardinals series. After getting 6 hits in St. Louis, Teahan also has walked twice and scored twice. It'll be Teahan, Glode, and Buck in the second inning. No balls, 2 strikes. Let's take a look at today's Toyota League leaders. Minnesota Twins with a long winning streak that was snapped. They had won 10 in a row. And the Royals and the Twins and another American League Central team leading the way with the best interleague records of 2008.
Zach and Gil have 3 interleague wins. I wonder if that's something to say about the American League Central or more about the National League West. Royals have some games outside that National League West because of the home and home rivalry with the St. Louis Cardinals, but most of the teams in the Central are playing the National League West here over the last couple of weeks. And the best record in that National League West is Arizona, a game over 500. So that division has taken a pounding by the American League Central.
Curveball. Teahan thought it was a little high and away, and Mike Winters rings him up. Second strikeout for Looper.
Ryan, this might have been a split finger pitch that he uses for a changeup because of the fading action on it right there. That looks maybe like a splitter more so than the breaking ball, but it's certainly off speed, up in the strike zone, borderline at best. And Cardinals get that call first out of this inning.
And now Ross Glode, who starts for the 14th consecutive game at first base. On base 4 times in this series, 2 hits, 2 walks. He has scored a couple times.
Probably relieved when he heard Trey Hillman, the Royals manager, say that he was going to continue to play first base, even though Billy Butler's back with the big league ball club. Butler was getting most of the starts at first base until he was sent back to AAA.
1-2.
I think we'd have to say that Ross has swung the bat to get his way back into that starting lineup and deserves to be there for a while.
Off the plate and just foul. Well, during the next Royals homestand, if you like hats and you want to come out and watch the Royals and the Mariners on Friday, July the 11th, it's fireworks and cowboy hats. The first 20,000 fans getting a cowboy hat thanks to AT&T. Saturday, Christmas comes early. One of the first 20,000 fans, and you'll get a Santa hat presented by MLB 2K8. And then the first 20,000 fans for the Sunday game will get a Royals visor. Still 1-2 on Ross Glode.
Going to need a visor on that Sunday game. The day will probably be bright and sunny. It's starting to heat up. It's getting into the midsummer months. We've been a little bit fortunate with the series in St. Louis and here in Kansas City. Comfortable temperatures for both series.
Aaron Miles has to wait for that ground ball to come down and then the quick release, and we watched him do that a couple of times last night at second base and throws out Glode.
Seems like all the middle infielders very versatile for this Cardinals team. We've seen Brennan Ryan play shortstop, play third base. He can play second. Aaron Miles can play second, short, now over at third base today. Undersized and not a lot of power for that position, but he's got the quickness and the reactions to get it done. Troy Gloss is the regular third baseman.
Now John Buck with 2 outs. Started on Friday, was 1 for 4. Behind the plate, John Buck gunning down Brendan Ryan for the final out of the top of the second inning. John opened the season 0 for his first 23 and throwing out potential base stealers, but now has gunned down his last 2. Two balls, 1 strike.
The other caught stealing was in the Colorado Rockies series. Ryan Spilborg's trying to swipe a base in the late innings. John caught him.
And Brendan Ryan today. So Ryan is the operative word or name. 2-2 on Buck.
Got to keep your eye on those types.
Well, what other Ryans can he gun down?
Well, where's our next stop? Baltimore?
They've got a Brian who likes to
Brian
run.
Roberts.
Yeah.
And he's on a lot.
Yeah. Still 2-2. Well, he might throw out Ryan Ludwig today. Who knows? Ludwig has 4 stolen bases, caught 1, so Tony La Russa not afraid to run him. John Buck has fouled off the last 3 pitches. Royals going with the powder blues this afternoon, as they have for all the Sunday home games. Bringing back the powder blues this year, but just going with the jerseys, unlike the old road uniforms where the powder blue took care of the jerseys and the pants. Miles gets a nice waist-high hop, low throw, and a backhand dig by Chris Duncan. Royals down 1-2-3 in the second. Royals baseball on FSN Kansas City is brought to you by Dodge. Live life to the fullest. Grab life. And by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. 2-0 Cardinals as we move to the 3rd inning, and the Royals are going to begin the 3rd inning with a new left fielder.
Not good news for Kansas City. David DeJesus, the red-hot bat. We speculated that he got hurt on this play at home plate as he bounced on top of the headgear of Jason LaRue as he knocked it off him. Looked like it hit him in the low rib cage area, maybe the upper hip area.
Now a drive up the bat of Skip Schumacher that sails over Mark Teahan, gets wedged in between the padding and the bottom of the wall, and the Cardinals with their 4th hit against Ryan Bannister in their 3rd extra base hit. Aaron Miles coming up, and we'll check in with Joel Goldberg.
Well, Ryan, you just mentioned Aaron Miles coming up. Also just mentioned David DeJesus. The 2 of them were teammates in 2003 in the Arizona Fall League. Pretty good team. They had Neil Kotz as a pitcher, Chris Young as a pitcher. Their manager back in 2003 was Frank White. So Frank and Aaron a chance to catch up today. Frank said he wasn't able to teach him a whole lot of pointers at second base because he was on another team at that point, and they didn't do a whole lot of that for organizations, but he said he was definitely one of the better players. And interesting because Aaron at that point had already been up in the big leagues with the White Sox. Guys?
All right, thanks, Joel. And Aaron Miles laying down a sacrifice bunt. Alex Gordon really attacking that ground ball, wasn't going to take any chances that it was going to roll foul.
Well, this is too close. If that hangs up in the grass area, it'll never get to the foul line. So he had a decision to make right there. So wanted to attack it, needed to make sure he gets an out. Well, that's a perfectly placed bunt right there. Miles just rolling that one up the 3rd baseline. He gets the sacrifice. The putout goes 5-4.
The boos coming from Cardinal fans. They want to see Albert Pujols swing the bat. This will be the 20th time this year Pujols has been intentionally walked.
Might be some of the Royals fans booing too. They'd like to see him swing the bat, but they don't want him to hurt their ball club. So they maybe a little more understanding in that regard. I'm glad to see him play here this weekend. I'm glad our fans get a chance to see him play. Cardinal fans can go watch him anytime. And
when you're a young team like the Royals and trying to improve, you do so by beating the best. I mean, it's nice to win some games and gain some confidence, but you can win a series and pitch well to a guy like Albert Pujols. What's that going to do to your confidence as opposed to when he's not in the lineup?
You know, Ryan, they talk about when the best come to the plate, how the ballpark kind of just gets quiet, and whoever's got a conversation going or going to the concession stands, they stop to watch him hit. Well, players do the same thing, even if they're on the field. I mean, they'll be out there doing their job, but all the guys on the bench kind of getting a routine of watching a game if you're not playing. But as soon as those premier players come up, everybody stops their activity there as well, and they all take note. They take note when they take their batting practice. They watch really everything that they do on the field. This is something you pick up, so you really want to see these guys play.
Rick Ankiel grounded out sharply to second in the first inning. Aviles and Gordon out. Aviles lost it in the sun. And it stayed in the sun for a long time because he was standing underneath it, and he knew he was in the right area but couldn't find the ball.
Ryan, what you do on that play is you look up and try to play it out of the sun, figuring it's going to come out eventually. Try to get an angle on it. And he showed us pretty early that he was in some trouble, and when he did that, Schumacher, the runner at third, you see him stepping up right there. He's anticipating that ball's going to drop, so he has no problem scoring at all. The Cardinals lead it 3-0.
So that's what Aviles was looking up into on the pop-up from Ankiel, who ends up with an RBI single. And now Bannister throwing way inside to Ryan Ludwig. Ludwig lined out to left field when DeJesus was out there in the second inning.
Ron Ludwig was a hot hitter when we were in St. Louis a couple weeks ago. His average was right at 310. In fact, he was swinging the bat well enough with Pujols on the disabled list. He moved from the number 4 spot in the order to hitting number 3. The best bat in the lineup at that time for the Cardinals, but has been struggling recently. He's just 4 for 30 on this road trip. He's probably happy to see this thing come to an end. These guys go home. They play the Mets tomorrow over at Busch Stadium.
Again, trying to pitch inside, 2-1. Royals have pitched him well. Ludwig, 56 RBIs. That's 10th best in the National League, but only 1 so far in 6 games against KC. He has Pujols at second, Ankiel at first. Cardinals with 2 in the second inning on Jason LaRue's 2-run home run. And now 1 here in the third on Ankiel's sun-lost pop-up for an RBI single. Didn't get the call. John Buck a few times last couple innings has been looking over his shoulder. That's an indication that he's having a little conversation with the home plate umpire.
Ludwig, one of those guys, while he's struggling with the bat, you still got to be careful with him because he's got that power potential. Better than 50 RBIs already this year.
Another walk. So 3 walks, 1 of them intentional. And that ball that was lost in the sun has really turned this inning around. And the base is loaded with 1 away, and Chris Duncan coming up, and Bob McClure jogging out of the Royals dugout.
Duncan is the 6th hitter to come to the plate in this inning, so the pitch total starting to mount a little bit for Brian. Good time to go out there and give him a break. Review the scouting report on Duncan. You got an opportunity for a double play ball here if you can get a ground ball. Duncan does not run very well. Brian had a bad break in this inning when that infield pop-up goes for a base hit. Gonna find a way to work your way through that. Try to pick up your defense right now if you can.
Split, it seems like most of the time when Bob McClure goes out to the mound, there's a pretty good result right afterward for the pitcher. What do the good ones say when they go out there?
Well, he does a really nice job of communicating. He's got kind of a laid-back style, kind of a calming effect on most of the pitchers. Terrific teacher in between ball games, on your sidelines, your bullpens, things like that. But he comes out there. Sometimes they've got a message. Sometimes it's a kick in the rear end to kind of get you fired up if they think you're a little too laid back and need to be more aggressive. I think right there, catch a breather, calm right now because you got runners all around you. Cardinals doing enough to build that stress themselves.
2 balls, no strikes on Duncan. He popped out to Aviles in the second inning. Pujols at third, Ankiel at second, Ludwig at first. Duncan, the son of Cardinal pitching coach Dave Duncan, who was not a former pitcher. Dave Duncan was a former catcher.
And for the most part in his career, Ryan, he was a backup catcher, and the reputation of those guys is they're catch and throw guys. He could swing the bat a little bit, had some power, but was not a good high percentage hitter, so he was not a frontline catcher. He was the backup, spent a lot of time in the bullpens with the relief pitchers, learned the game, and took that into his coaching style. I'm surprised more catchers aren't doing that because they're around the pitchers all the time. They got to learn that part of the game.
Now 3 balls, 1 strike.
Right now you get the feeling Banny doesn't have good command of his pitches. Any one of the 3 of them, the fastball, the breaking ball, the changeup, not aggressive enough in the strike zone, really trying to nibble out there, trying to make everything a perfect pitch. It's gotten him in some trouble.
And a little bloop into shallow left field, and Herman unable to make the play, sticking his glove up there to try and get the runners to hold, but everyone moves up one station. Cardinals lead 4-0.
Ball not hit all that sharply, but it is pushed the opposite way. Favorable count for Duncan right there. So he's going to get the RBI on the soft single to left field. Nothing that Herman can do to get that ball back in time. And the bases are still loaded for St. Louis with one out.
Bob McClure over to visit with Trey Hillman in regard to Brian Bannister, and Joel Peralta closed out the 9th inning for the Royals on Friday. Just starting to loosen up. So bases loaded, 1 out, and now Adam Kennedy. Kennedy walked with 2 outs and nobody on in the second inning. Looked like Bannister was going to have an easy second inning, but Kennedy walked, and then Jason LaRue hit a 2-run home run. One ball, 1 strike.
Adam Kennedy has one of the longer current hitting streaks of any of the Cardinals in the lineup today. He's working with a 7-gamer, having a terrific road trip. 10 for 27. Only Aaron Miles has a longer current hitting streak than this hitter, Kennedy.
Nice save by Buck, saving a run.
And that's an indication that Bannister's really struggling. Just as John was setting up to go to the outside corner, trying to deliver that pitch, it was the cut fastball. It looked like maybe they were trying to go backdoor with it to the outside corner, and he missed down and in. Buck had to go the width of the plate to make that play.
And that's hit hard into left center field. The wind knocks it down and allows Gathright to make the play, avoids a collision, and then Gathright plays it to third, allowing the runner from first, Chris Duncan, to move up. So St. Louis takes a 5-0 lead on the sac fly from Kennedy.
Ryan, this had a chance to be disaster right here because you've got a guy in left field that doesn't play there very much. Gathright coming over, taking charge on the play, able to step up and one, make the catch, then two, avoid the contact. Try to get that lead runner. Had no chance there, and as you mentioned, throw that ball to the middle part of the infield. You keep that other runner on at first base. But as it is, two runners on in scoring position, but at least there are two outs.
And now ball one on Jason LaRue.
Got to have the communication in the outfield. That was a close call. You don't like those tweener plays out there when you've got a utility guy or a backup player that doesn't play that position very much.
2-0 on LaRue. Homered to right field with a man on in the second inning. Hit the ball good to right field and probably would have had a home run on a normal day, but with the wind blowing out, that ball easily cleared the chain link fence in right field and hit up against the back wall on the other side of the Royals bullpen mounds. This is the 25th pitch of the inning for Bannister. And LaRue hits this one hard to center field, but Gathright is on it, and the inning is over. 3-run third for the Cardinals. For more than 20 years, Kevin Beck has worked for the Kansas City, Missouri Fire Department. For 5 of those years, he worked with the Drug Abatement Response Team to shut down drug houses. In 2002, after a heroic act on the job, he received the Exceptional Duty Award from the department, the Distinguished Service Award, as well as the Heart Saver Award from the Red Cross. Kevin Beck sitting in the Buck O'Neil legacy seat at today's game. And now Braden Looper takes them out in the bottom of the 3rd inning with a 5-0 lead. Gathright, Herman, and Aviles coming up. And over the glove of Miles, Brendan Ryan runs it down, and that'll hold Gathright to a single.
So we've got it so many times. Why does the third baseman always play in so tight at that position? Well, the answer is they're trying to take the bunt away, but normally when Joey bunts, he bunts to the first base line, tries to slap it that way. That time, instead of slapping it by the third baseman, he chopped it over his head. It goes for the base hit. So Gathright with the leadoff single. Royals really need to get something on the scoreboard here.
Esteban Herman bats for the first time. David DeJesus walked in the first inning and then was thrown out at home plate and landed awkwardly on Jason LaRue's mask. Came out for the next inning on defense, but then replaced by Herman in the top half of this inning. Showing bunt, taking a strike. Steve Erickson is today's merchandise winner in the Kia Long Drive inning sweepstakes. If the Royals hit a home run in this inning, Steve Erickson qualifies for the Kia Spectra drawing in September. To register, visit a Kansas City or St. Joseph Kia retailer. Ryan Ludwig has to go all the way back to the track with the wind blowing it into the corner, and Joey Gathright, tagging on the play, moves up to second base.
That's going to be a tough play for the right fielders this afternoon. This ball headed into the corner. The wind is going to push it and slice it away from the outfielder. Ludwig makes the play just a couple steps away from the pads. Gathright, sensing that he was going to make the play, was already tagging at first base, so the Royals get a man in scoring position.
And now Mike Aviles also walked first time up. The Royals need that ball to go into the dugout or on top of the dugout. 0-1 to Aviles. Well, the Royals all-you-can-eat seats are back for every game this season, so all the hot dogs, nachos, peanuts, and popcorn a real baseball fan can handle, and plenty of Pepsi. You'll save even more if you get an all-you-can-eat 4-game pack. For details, go to Royals.com or 1-800-6-ROYALS. A little bit inside, 1-1 to Aviles. Gathright moving up to third as Brendan Ryan throws out Avila's 2 down. And now Alex Gordon. Looper was in a mess in the bottom of the first inning. He walked DeJesus, walked Aviles, but there were 2 key outs in that inning. The first was striking out Alex Gordon, and the second was DeJesus being thrown out at the plate by left fielder Skip Schumacher after a base hit from Jose Guillen. Ball 1 to Alex.
Schumacher picking up his 7th assist of the year with that cut down at home plate of DeJesus.
Two balls, no strikes.
There are times it looks like Looper, if you check out his body language, tells you he's really struggling out there, but he's starting to get some ground balls. 3 ground balls now of the last 4 outs. So that's an indication he's coming on top of his game, but the way he's out there right now, getting a little upset with himself. Occasional lack of command. And he's got going right now is that 5-0 lead. Just an out away from getting out of this bottom of the 3rd inning.
3-0. Now big pitch for Looper. Doesn't want to walk Alex Gordon with a 5-0 lead and bring Jose Guillen to the plate with a chance to get the Royals back in the game, and that's 3-1. That's exactly what he does. 3rd walk. And Jose Guillen, who snapped an 0 for 13 with a single in the first inning, bats with runners at the corners here in the 3rd.
A week ago today, the Royals were in a wild, crazy, high-scoring day. Found themselves down 6-1, 10-3. Came back to win a ball game.
On the outside corner, strike 1. Third in the American League was 60 RBIs. Nearly had his 61st in the first, but DeJesus thrown out at the plate. And that gets away from LaRue. Gathwright's going to score the first Royals run.
Started out by getting ahead of Guillen on a pitch down and away, then tried to come down and in with a pitch, had that tailing sinking action on it. LaRue has to go off the end of his glove. Good read at third base by Gathright. He scores. Tailing action took that out. That might be a pass ball. Didn't look like it bounced into the dirt.
That's exactly what it is. Now 2-1 on Guillen. $18 RBIs against the National League, and it was a series against the Florida Marlins last month that really got Guillen going. Into early May, Guillen was hitting just 165. And the Royals took that trip to Miami in the middle of May 16th, 17th, and 18th, enjoying some warm weather after a very cool April and May, and that's when Jose Guillen began his current run. A run that's gone well over a month. Got a piece of that pitch. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That's what it's going to take for him to have a good year. Wait till he sees what we have in July and August here in Kansas City.
As Alex Gordon down at second base with 2 away. Just foul.
Looper really trying to pitch him down in the strike zone. He's throwing the sinking fastball both sides of the plate and trying to catch up with him. That looks like that sinker down and in has got even more movement on it. It's going to be tough for Jose to keep that ball in fair territory. Really going to be difficult to get it in the air. Does not appear to be changing speeds nearly as much on him as he is the left-handed hitters.
Brendan Ryan at short gets a big hop and throws out Guillen. Royals get their first run on an infield single and a pass ball. Cardinals with 2 in the second and 3 in the third. Royals getting their first run in the bottom of the third inning. The Cardinals by 4. Brian Bannister every now and then has an inning where he just loses it as far as his mechanics and his control. Most of the time, if he gets through that inning, he finds a way to settle back down.
Well, he's been in trouble each of the last 2 innings, so you hope that inning number 4 here today is the one that he turns it around. Cardinals sent 8 men to the plate against him in that third inning. He'd love to have an easy frame right here. A chance to get an out on 1 pitch if Alex can play that thing out of the sun. Not an easy play, 1 because of the wind that's circulating to the ballpark, and then 2 because of the sun. And this is a major league pop-up. Brendan Ryan going after the first pitch. He's the first out of the inning.
You talk about hang time. This thing wasn't in the sun. It bounced off the sun.
So good start to the inning for Bannister and the Royals. Now it's back to the top of the order and Skip Schumacher. Doubled and scored his last time up. He's 1 for 2 today. He's got a 6-game hitting streak. Bannister aggressive. He's thrown 3 pitches in this inning. All 3 of them have been in the strike zone. So maybe you're right, Ryan. The second and third innings were the tough ones. Maybe you can string together a strong stretch of innings. Working quickly here in the fourth inning. Missed with the breaking ball. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cardinals finishing up a 9-game road trip. They've split the first 8 games. They get off to a good start on this road trip after the Royals had swept them over at Busch Stadium. They went on to Fenway Park, won 2 out of 3. And lost 2 out of 3 to the Detroit Tigers, including an extra inning loss, the final game of that series. Split the first 2 here in Kansas City. Looper up the left field line. That's foul. Count holds it 2-2. Bannister came in with a 3-game winning streak, covering his last 5 starts. His last time out was Monday against Colorado. Foul ball reached the seats. Colorado ball game, gave up 3 runs, was the winner in that one. Hasn't lost here in the month of June. He's 3-0 so far. That's his line on Monday when he beat the Rockies. One number that jumps out is those half a dozen walks given up, but with the 5 strikeouts. Missed with the backdoor breaking ball. It's now 3 balls, 2 strikes. Bouncer to second. Kozlanick's there, and that's the 2nd out. Sports Ultimate Nightly Highlight Show is here. The final score. It's the only national show that gives you nothing but wall-to-wall highlights. The final score is tonight at 10:30 p.m. right here on FSN Kansas City.
Now, I'm not suggesting this ever happened to you, but when a pitcher has a little bump in the road like Brian has today, and you're trying to get everything back together in between innings in the dugout, what do? You just sit there and relax, or maybe you go and look at yourself in a mirror and take a look at your mechanics?
You know, Mr. Kaufman put us through a training program back in the early days. It was actually implemented to try to help develop the academy players where Frank went, and it was called visualization and centering, and the idea was for hitters or pitchers or even position players defensively, if your swing breaks down, if your windup breaks down, through a series of drills and everything, and just kind of locking in and concentrating on what it feels like when you do things right. Kind of maybe simulating a swing at the plate or your windup or your release point. You should be able to, in a period of time, just step off the mound, rub up the baseball, just kind of go through it in your mind, what it feels like when it feels right, and then get back up on top and get it done that way. So, you know, that's what we did, and that's what I tried to do is get those positive thoughts. Did it before the start of every game. But if things started to break down, you want to be able, as a hitter, step out of the batter's box, maybe take a practice swing, feel like you know, the mechanics are right and you're on time, staying on top of the ball, and then step into the box. Hopefully, if you're good enough at this, you can turn it around that quickly. They called it centering and visualization.
That's pretty deep.
Took about a week to go through that. Had all kinds of drills. I mean, I remember a trampoline drill where you had to bounce on the trampoline and circle the hands in the same direction, then opposite directions, and then count, you know, and then every other letter through the alphabet and all that while keeping a balance and doing some other tasks. It just became mental and physical exercises that you could force yourself to think on the fly. I don't know if I passed or not. Here's Albert Pujols.
Trampoline, huh?
Mm-hmm. Had to be athletic back in those days. Low ball 2 to Albert. Doubled in the first inning. Potentially walked and scored a run his last time up. Pujols now 2 for 7 in this series. Pujols from deep in that right-hander's batter's box, way out in front of that off-speed pitch. Now just below the stadium club, down into the lower seats. 2 balls and a strike on Pujols. Pujols in there as the designated hitter this afternoon. You're talking about the incredible start to his career. How about the times that he's been in the top 3 in the MVP balloting? Had 5 consecutive years he was in the top 3 in the MVP balloting in the National League.
You don't see him flinch very often like he did here. Although the best Albert Pujols flinch I've ever seen was when Mike McDougal struck him out in St. Louis with a slider to end a game.
Well, he's a tough strikeout. Last year he went 109 consecutive at bats without a strikeout. That was in late season last year. That was in the month of September. The guy who brings that kind of power to the plate goes 109 consecutive at bats without a strikeout.
No, he showed it and talked about it last night. How still he keeps his head, how level his swing is. He has that wide base for a stance. There isn't a lot of opportunity for him to be fooled or lose his balance. Of course, you have to be big and strong like he is to be able to flex his leg muscles and stretch out the way he does.
Well, by baseball standards, he's kind of a freak. I mean, you talk about a power hitter with more walks than strikeouts. How about a power hitter with twice as many walks as he has strikeouts? I mean, that's unheard of. At 55 walks this year, 24 strikeouts coming into play here this afternoon. 3 balls, 2 strikes here. Runner on first base with 2 outs is running on the pitch. That's Aaron Miles. Royals play Pujols as a pull hitter in the outfield. Miles runs again. That breaking ball is in for called strike 3. Well, you just call about the tough strikeout. He's fooled by the pitch. He's final out of the inning. Bannister gives up a hit, but no runs in the top of the 4th. Youngster there enjoying some Cracker Jack, and Ryan, he looks like a left-hander.
Why? Because of his haircut?
No, the left hand.
Oh.
Mark Grudzielanek will lead things off for the Royals. Royals bat in the bottom of the 4th inning. Braden Looper, the starter for the Cardinals, still in there. Grudzielanek jammed his first time up, breaks his bat right here. He's got a soft single to right field. The bat head went one way. It went towards third base. The base hit went to right field. Grudzielanek 1 for 2 today. Let's take a look at today's frost brewed Coors Light freeze can. Came back in the first inning. David DeJesus opened the inning for the Royals with a walk and tried to score on this Jose Guillen base hit. Got in a collision with Jason LaRue at home plate, bowled him over, but LaRue held onto the ball, got the out. And David never got to home plate. Went right over the top. Ended up bruising probably his lower rib cage area. Came out of the ball game an inning later. And LaRue still in there for the Cardinals. Here's Tian. Mark was caught looking his first time in. 0 for 1 today, 1 for 7 in the series. He scored a couple runs. Looper with a long look at the runner at first base. Delivers downstairs with the sinker. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Tian with the 8 home runs this year has already surpassed last year's total, where he finished with 7 round trippers, 60 RBIs. So while the home runs were down, the doubles were up 10 over the previous year. Extra base hits overall about the same in 2007 that they were in 06. This one's headed to the gap in left center field. Long run and Keel. Great running catch. Fully extended. He's able to haul it down. Big catch in the inning for the Cardinals.
Now, first of all, I'm not taking anything away from Rick Ankiel. That was a very good play. But with the wind, and it's actually picked up from the first pitch, it did Mark Tian no favors at all and knocked it down just enough for Ankiel to run it down. But Ankiel, first of all, had to have a good read and a good first step. Still an excellent play.
That's a terrific play in center field. And you make a good point with a left-handed hitter. That inside-out swing that's normally going to have some slice on it that's going to take it away from the center fielder. Ankiel would have had to have played that, but he caught it in full stride. Good defensive play in center field. So Tian now 0 for 2 today, and Ross Gload will be the hitter. Infield ground ball here this afternoon. Bounced out to third his first time in. Gload started at first base for the 14th consecutive game. He's hit in 7 straight with 11 hits during that stretch. Gload with a favorable count. It's 2 balls, no strikes. Just got the outside corner. It's 2-1. Mentioned that Brian Bannister came in with a 3-game winning streak. Braden Looper came in with a 2-game win streak. Covering his last 3 starts. He's also won 3 out of his last 4 decisions. There's a gapper. Left center field. And Ankiel won't catch that one. Drudzilanic goes into second. It's a 1-out single for Gload. Royals 6-packs are back. You can catch the biggest and the best matchups the rest of the year and save big time in the process. It's everything you love. Great games, great fun, great times, all with the flexibility to fit your schedule. Check out Royal 6-packs and choose a schedule focused on what's important to you for great days at the ballpark and a wonderful ballpark experience. Fan favorites, fireworks, cool, free stuff. Hey, the options are yours. Call 816-504-4040 or visit Royals.com for tickets. Here's John Buck. John 0 for 1 today. Infield ground ball his first time up. Runs now with 4 hits in the ball game. 4 of them were singles. Buck doing the catching today. Miguel Olivo was behind the plate here last night. It's interesting how managers change their lineups. Not always on the Sunday day game or the day game after the previous night game, but also working in some backup players in the night game the evening before. Tony La Russa didn't get his lineup turned in until about an hour before game time today. Royals had an early lineup, but then they had a couple changes about an hour before the game. Buck was in the original starting lineup. It's 2 balls and a strike now. Travel day for both of these teams. The Royals are in Baltimore to start an 8-game road trip tomorrow. Royals getting their second look at the Orioles. Baltimore was here in Kansas City the second weekend in May. There are teams that the Royals have struggled with over the last couple of years, and then there's the Baltimore Orioles. They've not only struggled against them, but you look at the matchups on the field and you don't see a whole lot of mismatches. But Royals went 0-7 against the Birds last year, struggled early on this year. Hope it turns around this week at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. 3 balls and a strike to Buck. Royals got a run on a hit and a pass ball in the 3rd inning. Love to add on some more right here, trailing at 5-1. They were all low-scoring games when we played the 3-game series in St. Louis a couple weeks ago. Higher scoring games here this weekend in Kansas City. And that's up and in, ball 4. And once again, it looks like Looper struggling with his command. He's been off and on all afternoon. He'll get himself into some trouble, but then he'll be good enough to get his way off the hook. And he'll pitch with the bases loaded here and 1 out.
That's 4 walks for Looper. Walked 2 in the 1st inning, walked 1 in the 3rd, and that's when the Royals scored their first run. And now the bases loaded with 1 out in the 4th inning. Dave Duncan trying to do here in the 4th what Bob McClure was hoping to do for Brian Bannister when Bannister faced 8 and allowed 3 runs in the 3rd. Just look for some sort of solution, some sort of approach, maybe going to a pitch, maybe a little mechanical adjustment to get back on track.
Royals need a beginning to get back into this one, trailing by 4 runs. Joey Gathright due up next as Duncan's back to the Cardinal dugout 3rd base side. Cardinals put a call out to the bullpen. They got some activity out there. Gathright hits next for the Royals. Joey hop single for a base hit his last time up. He chopped over to 3rd baseman's head, Aaron Miles. Average up to 254. No home runs, 14 RBIs for Joey. Royals have the bases loaded. Grudzielanik's on at 3rd, Glodes at 2nd. Buck the base runner at 1st. Ground ball, left side, base hit. Here comes Grudzielanik with a run. And the Royals are going to hold up Globe. So Gathright, a 2-hit ball game, picks up the RBI. The Royals down now 5-2. Remember last Sunday?
I do. And that was an even bigger deficit. Royals were down 6-0 and 10-3. And Joey Gathright really starting to learn that left side of the infield. That's known as the 5-6 hole in between position number 5 and position number 6. It's a bigger hole when the bases are loaded because the middle of the infield is a double play depth.
And here's Esteban Herman, 0 for 1. He flied out to right field his first time in, picking up David DeJesus, who left after getting hurt in the 1st inning. Word from the Royals clubhouse, DeJesus with a bruised lower right rib cage. So that's about what we suspected after the collision at home plate with Jason LaRue. Fell on the headgear and the catcher's mask of LaRue on that play. Cooper's next pitch finds the strike zone. It's a ball and a strike.
And since DeJesus walked in his first plate appearance, that is not an official at bat. So his hitting streak is alive, even though he had a plate appearance in this game and did not get a hit.
Line drive, right field, base hit. Here comes Globe. They're going to hold Buck at 3rd. Strong throw back into the infield. So 4 consecutive hitters reach here in the 4th inning for the Royals. A Globe single, Buck walks, Gathright gets a hit, and now Herman with the base hit in the RBI. And the Royals trail it by just 2.
One thing about Herman, even though his average is way down this year, you figure you're going to get a quality at bat from him every time he comes to the plate. He can hit to all fields. This time he uses right field. So David DeJesus is out, but the hitting streak continues, at least from that spot in the batting order.
And Braden Looper is going to be out. Cardinals going to get just 3 1/3 out of him here this afternoon. Royals trying to get back into this one, now trailing at 5-3 as we take a look at our Firestone leaderboard and talk about current hitting streaks. David DeJesus out of this ball game, but did walk in his only plate appearances, the Major League active hitting streaks. David DeJesus leading the crowd with 13 straight. Ian Kinsler having a heck of a year with the Texas Rangers. He's got an 11-gamer. Aaron Miles with these Cardinals has 11. Seeing some pretty familiar names. Here's Mike Aviles. Mike 0 for 1 officially. He walked in the first. A 2-hit ball game for Mike here last night. He's 2 for 10 in the series. Royals still have the bases loaded, just 1 out as they bat in the bottom of the 4th inning. Chris Perez, the new pitcher for the Cardinals. Overs downstairs, ball 1. Perez just a couple days away from his 23rd birthday. Sturdily built right-hander out of the University of Miami. No-round draft choice a couple years ago. Taken in the 06 draft. His second appearance this year against the Royals. His 1-0 pitch. Beals had a pretty good swing. He fouled it straight back.
You see guys like this come along, and Perez is a former catcher. A lot of former catchers end up being decent pitchers because they have an idea about pitching, because catchers are calling the pitches. They usually have good arms, but the ones that can't hit sometimes get a chance on the mound.
Going to go as an infield fly rule right there with the bases loaded and less than 2 outs. So Aviles out on the pop up to second base. So Perez out of the Cardinal bullpen gets a key out. Aviles 0 for 2 today.
Chris Perez described himself as just an average catcher in high school, but the summer after his junior year he was playing on a summer team, and in a long game his team ran out of pitchers, and his coach said, "Hey, do you mind going on the mound and pitching?" And he said sure, and it changed his life. Ended up getting a scholarship at Miami where he was closer and eventually a first-round sandwich pick.
Did his coach get a finder's fee?
Should have.
We'll enjoy watching him pitch. Alex Gordon 0 for 1 with a walk here this afternoon. Fouls off the first pitch. Gordon with 10 home runs, 39 RBIs on the season. Has 4 RBIs here in this series. Royals at one time trailed at 5-0. Got a run in the 3rd, 2 more here in the 4th. An opportunity to maybe tie or even take the lead here. Gordon at the plate. It's outside, ball 1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
This guy has a great arm. 96 and 97 with the last 2 pitches to Alex.
Notes on him says he also has a solid breaking ball. Missed with that pitch. It's 2 balls and a strike. Gordon, the 8th Royal to come to the plate in this inning. Cardinals sent 8 men to the plate in the 3rd when they scored 3 times. In the air to left field. The wind will hold it up. Schumacher over, battling the sun, and the Royals leave the bases loaded in the 4th. But they pick up 2 runs, get it done on 4 base hits, and get a little bit closer to the Cardinals. Redbirds got out to an early lead. Royals are closing in. Cardinals continue to lead the Royals 5-3. We move on to the top of the 5th inning. Brian Bannister has gone all the way for the Royals. The Cardinals have already gotten into their bullpen. Brian's pitch count, brought to us by James B. Nutter this afternoon, has not been an easy go for him. 83 pitches through 4 innings, and just about half of them in the strike zone, so it has been a struggle for Bannister here today. Rick Ankiel will lead things off. Ankiel 1 for 2, an RBI single, and a run scored his last time up. It's 2 balls, no strikes now. Ankiel now 3 for 10 in this series. 3 runs driven in. Had a big home run earlier, drove it deep to right field, and it's 3 balls, no strikes on Ankiel. Only been a couple times this year that Bannister's gone less than 5 innings. He's gone 6 or more, 10 of his first 16 starts this year. Green lighted on 3-0. Infield pop up. Ross Glode, Grudzelanik is there. Both of them fighting the win. It'll be Glode with the catch, and Ankiel the first out of the inning. Well, the Royals open their next road trip tomorrow night in Baltimore, and FSN Kansas City will have the entire 4-game series. Coverage of the Royals and Orioles begins tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. with Royals Live with Joel Goldberg right here on FSN Kansas City. An 8-game road trip for the Royals. The Orioles, who were playing well recently, and then how about the Tampa Bay Devil Rays? Check that, it's just the Rays. Still in second place in the American League East, a half a game behind the first place Red Sox.
16 games over 500.
There's Ryan Ludwig. Walked his last time up, hit the ball hard in the second inning, lined out to left field. Ludwig had the first good start to the year, 2.5 months. He is a big-time RBI man before struggling the last 2 weeks. He's still in the top 10 in the National League in runs driven in. And he's got a 1-out base hit to right. Ludwig now 1 for 2 today. So Ludwig on first base with 1 out. Bannister still looking for his first 1-2-3 inning of the afternoon as he gets ready to face Chris Duncan. Duncan had an RBI single his last time up. Bannister jammed him back in the second.
Well, it's about time. John Buck threw out another Ryan. In his last 2 games, he's thrown out Ryan Spilborghs, Brendan Ryan, and Ryan Ludwig's at first base.
Pulled the string and had Duncan out in front. It's no balls and a strike. Wouldn't think this would be a good hit and run situation. Duncan swings and misses too much. But La Russa likes to be aggressive, especially when he's got a lead. Royals cutting into that deficit a little bit. Bannister had the same thought in mind as he throws to first base. Wind continues to blow towards the right field corner. Roche ducking the opposite way in the outfield. The open gap is right center field, right through our shot there. And he goes that way. Tian got a good jump. Wind brings it back to him a little bit. He has it for the second out of the inning.
The wind helped that ball a little bit, but Duncan didn't get it on the fat part of the bat. Got it down around the end of the bat. And with the wind blowing the way it is, Tian actually was favoring right center field, so that put him in a good position. But you could just tell by that sound that wasn't a good solid sound, and if he hits that on the barrel of the bat with that wind, that ball carries a lot more than it did.
That gets Adam Kennedy to the plate. Kennedy stands well off the dish and hits out of that slightly open stance. Fouls off the first pitch. Kennedy no official trips today. Walked and scored in the second. Got a sacrifice fly to left his last time up. Kennedy on the second tour of duty with these Cardinals. Signed into a 3-year contract after the 06 season, so he signed up through next year. Former first-round draft choice. Traded from the Cardinals to the Los Angeles Angels, now back with St. Louis. Spent 7 years with the Angels. 1 ball, 1 strike here.
Split for a while. I made the argument that that trade worked out better for the Angels and the Cardinals, which sounded crazy because Edmonds was putting up wonderful numbers for the Cardinals. But Kennedy in 02 was the MVP of the American League Championship Series, helping the Angels get to the World Series, which they eventually won. So personal numbers aside, the ultimate goal is to win championships. And up until 2006, when the Cardinals won their championship, I thought that trade was better off for the Angels.
I got the feeling after that the Angels really struggled at center field a little bit. Ran a number of different people through there.
Garrett Anderson, Darren Erstad.
Erstad played well for a period of time. And that's outside ball 4. Bannister dealt out another walk.
Okay, a big out in this inning. was the first out because Bannister had fallen behind Rick Ankiel 3-0. And the 3-0 pitch that he swung at may have been a little bit up. Could have been a strike, but didn't appear to be the type of pitch you'd see a hitter go after on 3-0, and he ends up popping up. And that's a difference between the bases loaded, 1 out, and runners at first and second, 2 outs, which Bannister faces now.
So Bannister, with runners on first and second and 2 outs, gets ready to face Jason LaRue. Touched him for a home run back in the second. A 2-run shot for LaRue is his 3rd of the season. And the first pitch to LaRue, he chased a high fastball. LaRue 1 for 2 today. Has 3 multiple hit games in his last 6 starts. So he'll try to make that 4 out of 7 if he can here today. Now has a 5-game hitting streak. LaRue, a tough year with the Royals here last year. One stretch he went 1 for 49. Really didn't give himself much of a chance last year. He struck out once every 2.5 plate appearances. No balls, 2 strikes here. The book on LaRue has always been he'll chase a high pitch if he get ahead in the count against him. That's why the Royals went upstairs, but LaRue lays off. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
We've talked about this before. If a guy is a high ball pitcher, then you try and pitch him higher than high. He's a good low ball pitcher, pitch him lower than low. Get him thinking, oh, the pitch is up. That's where I want it. But put it up enough where it's tempting, but he can't do anything with it.
And just out of that strike zone with the last one, it's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bannister will not want to go any farther than he is right now. Would love to get a decision right here on the 2-2 pitch. Line drive, center field. Gathright made a couple different breaks. It gets by him. It rolls to the wall. Ludwig scores. Kennedy scores. LaRue's headed for 3rd, and they'll check in there.
Split, I don't know if you saw what I saw.
I'm trying to figure out what I saw. Joey made about 3 different breaks.
I don't think that was Joey Gathright's fault at all. Every now and then, when a hitter hits a ball perfectly square, there's no spin. It's like a knuckleball. And when LaRue hit that ball, it was towards Gathright, but just to the right side of second base. And then that thing took a left turn. See if you can see the flight of this ball. Ball got kind of caught up in the scoreboard there. You can't see it, but it's a play where the center fielder looks bad, like he misread the ball, but that was not Joey Gathright's fault at all. That thing took a sharp left turn. Gathright's first read was a good one.
So the Royals really hurt on that. That's going to get Bannister out of the ball game. New pitcher coming in out of the Royals bullpen, Joel Peralta.
Watch Jason LaRue's triple off the bat. It first will slice towards right center and then hook to left center. So Joey Gathright's first read, not a bad one. The ball right towards Joey, and then right here it just changes directions and goes towards left center field. And again, when that happens, that means the hitter hit the ball so square, hit it right in the middle of the baseball, there was neither top spin or backspin, which helps the ball stay straight. Of course, top spin, the ball is going to go down. Backspin, it's going to carry. But when you hit it completely square, it comes off like a knuckleball, and who knows where it's going to go. Plus, you factor in the stiff crosswind, and there was a lot of factors there that aren't going to be very helpful to an outfielder.
And Jason LaRue having a huge day today. Home run, a triple, 4 RBIs. And just 90 feet away from the Cardinals' 8th run of the day, Brendan Ryan swinging the bat for St. Louis. Down in the count 0-2 to Joel Peralta, who pitches for the 2nd time in this series. Fly ball left field. Herman going back. He's at the edge of the warning track to haul that one down. Ryan put a charge into it, but he's the final out of the inning. Redbirds add 2 more runs on just 2 base hits. Royals baseball and FSN Kansas City is brought to you by Ricoh. Move your ideas forward with Ricoh dependability. And by your Kansas City and St. Joseph's Kia retailers. Kia, the power to surprise. Cardinals getting a couple runs in the top of the 5th inning, leading at 7-3. The big hit in the inning was the triple by Jason LaRue.
Joey Gathright had about as wacky of a line drive hit his way that you're ever going to see. And John Bach, who had a good view of it behind the plate as Royals catcher, telling Joey, yep, I saw exactly what you saw. A ball that started to slice one way and then hook back in the opposite direction.
Jose Guillen will lead things off for the Royals. The Royals sent 8 men to the plate in the 4th inning. Left the bases loaded, but scored a couple runs. We're done on 4 base hits. All 4 hits were singles. In fact, the Royals 6 hits in the game. All of them have been singles here today. Chris Perez is the Cardinal pitcher. Rookie right-hander and a hard throwing right-hander. Just struck out Jose Guillen. He's come out of their bullpen, phase 3. He's retired all 3. That gets Grudzielanek to the plate. Grudzielanek's 1 for 2 with the run scored today. Mentioned Trey Hillman had a couple changes to his original lineup here this afternoon. Originally he had Aviles playing second, Pena playing short. But the adjusted lineup had Grudzielanek back in the lineup and Aviles going to short. No balls and a strike on Grud. Royals, if they could come back and win this one, would get their home record back to 500. So much of the season their home record was worse than the road record, but that all changed on this 9-game homestand. Royals won 2 out of 3 last weekend against the Giants. They swept the Rockies in midweek. Split the first 2 games of this series with St. Louis. And Ryan, I think psychologically this is a big homestand for the Royals because you can go all the way back to early May. Just early struggles on homestands. The first 2 games of the series against the Angels and the Minnesota Twins swept the Royals late in May here on this field. The Royals came back, won the last 2 games of that week-long homestand against Cleveland. Then they lost the first 2 games of the Texas Rangers series in mid-June before winning the final game to avoid the sweep. So bad starts to homestands. That wasn't the case here this week. The 2-2 pitch.
Well, with the exception of the Yankees series, the Royals have also seemed to lose home games when there were big crowds on hand. And that even goes back to the beginning or right before the last winning streak. Right before the Royals won 6 in a row, they lost a Friday night game here against San Francisco at that great big fireworks show. You always want to play well at home, but you especially want to play well at home in front of a big crowd.
Well, especially when you've got a young team that is growing and developing. You want the people to come to the ballpark first of all, and then you want them to like what they saw when they got here to where they want to come back. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Grud. He continues to battle against Chris Perez. Braden Looper, the starter for St. Louis, went 3 1/3 here this afternoon. Charged with 6 hits. He had a couple strikeouts. He walked 4. All 3 runs scored against him are earned. So Looper will not win his 10th game of the season here today. Looper pitcher. Perez pitches out of the stretch even with nobody on base, but that's about to change as Grudzielanek got a base hit cut off by Schumacher. Grud's got a hustle, but he's in safely at second. Grudzielanek has a 2-hit game.
And he has a very professional at bat. Really didn't get any great pitches to handle, so he just kept fouling them off until he got one, and that looked like a slider that didn't break much, just spun out over the middle of the plate. And even though Grudzielanek loves to work center field, right, center, and right, If he gets the right pitch, he can pull it to left field with authority.
So he hits the ball hard. He's on second base with one out, and here's Mark Tian. It's down and away, ball one. Tian drove it to deep center field his last time up. Keel made a great catch into the gap in left center. Tian caught looking back in the second. Just 1 for 8 in this series. And Keel shading him more now towards left center field. And it's 2 balls, no strikes.
Last time these two hooked up was a Thursday afternoon in St. Louis. And the Royals had a 2-1 lead over the Cardinals going into the 9th inning, and Mark Tian hit a 2-run home run off of Perez, making it 4-1.
Got a solid base hit right here. Shoots it into right field. Grudzielanek will check into third. Royals have runners on the corners with 1 out.
So Tian 2 for 2 now against Perez with another good swing, a pitch that was in and driving it to the right side. You know, the Royals have had plenty of runners in scoring position in this game. They did have a runner thrown out at the plate in the first inning, but there's been a couple situations since where the Royals have had a runner at second base, but they've hit the ball so hard to the outfield, and the Cardinal outfield has good arms that Luis Severio has been forced to hold the runner at third base.
Here's Ross Gload, singled and scored his last time up. 1 for 2 today. Big swing there, no contact. Gload now with an 8-game hitting streak. But the Royals need some more. Cardinals trying to get some more mileage out of Chris Perez, a rookie right-hander. They got innings out of another rookie right-hander here last night. Mitchell Boggs was the winner. Similarity in that both these guys were non-roster players when the Cardinals went to spring training this last spring. Both products of their minor league system. Boggs the winner here last night. Perez could be in position to win this one today if he can get through the 5th inning. 1 ball, 1 strike on Gload. Like Tian, they shade him the opposite way in the outfield, and it's 2 balls and a strike. The 2-1. Final game of this series, final game of interleague play. Cardinals 6-8 against the American League teams this year. Their home and road records almost identical. Same number of wins. They got 2 more losses on the road. So they're due for a long homestand. They'll be home for the next week. Gload fights that one off. Count holds at 2-2. Grudzielanek is the runner at third base. Tian with the good speed is on over at first. Gload with 15 RBIs this season. Half a dozen of them have come here on this homestand. Having a hard time catching up with the Perez fastball. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes.
In a way, having a similar at bat as Mark Grudzielanek. Perez making good pitches, but can't get the final strike. Can't get Gload to put the ball in play weakly enough for an out. Gload just fouling him away, waiting for a mistake. That's what Grudzielanek eventually got in double.
There's the breaking ball, and he fouled that one off. Perez looked a little frustrated that he didn't get the out or the decision on this pitch. Steady diet of fastballs, came back with the breaking ball, and Gload still made the contact. Check out that last pitch.
Good. Maybe you have a frustrated pitcher on the mound.
When a pitcher does that, he'll tell you he put a lot into it. There's a line drive to left field. Schumacher over. Backhanded grab. He has it for the second out. And Grudzielanek tags. He'll score a run. Royals' 4th run of the day. They now trail at 7-4. That had a great shot at being extra bases for Gload.
Hit it hard again, but into that crosswind, which knocked it down, and that's going to help out Schumacher a lot more than Glode. But two excellent at-bats in this inning. Grutzelanek with all the foul balls to get the double with one out. And then after the Tien single, Ross Glode with all the foul balls until he got a pitch he could handle and picks up an RBI.
So 2 outs in the inning. John Buck will hit next for the Royals. And 0 for 1 with a walk. Official plate appearance was back in the second. He hit a ground ball to third. That was against the Cardinal starter, Braden Looper. So Buck on base 1 time this afternoon. Came in with a 4-game hitting streak. Good play by LaRue to keep that ball in front of him. It's a ball and a strike to Buck. Winds seem to have lightened a little bit over the last few minutes. Still blowing towards that right field corner. It'll push that ball back into the seats. Well back into the seats. It's a ball and 2 strikes on Buck.
There's Allen Ball. There's A Ball out there in center field. Every now and then the wind will kick up some of the water from the fountain, which gives us the effect of it looks like it's a rainy day at Kauffman Stadium.
Now the 1-2. And Perez continues to throw hard. Talk about A-ball. Perez was an A-ball just a couple of years ago. 2006. Last year he's a AA and AAA. Now pitching at the big leagues for the first time in his career. And it's 3-2. Well, Tien get an advantage now. 3 balls, 2 strikes. He can set sail on the pitch. And now they're playing a little more straight up for Buck in center field, trying to cut off both gaps. Gathright waits in the on deck circle. And the payoff. Downstairs, ball 4. Royals still alive here in the bottom of the 5th. Buck walks for the 2nd time today. And Jason LaRue wants to go out and talk to his pitcher. And now Tony La Russa is going to make his way to the mound. Cardinals have had a pitcher warming up in their bullpen the last couple minutes. So Cardinals going to go to their 3rd pitcher of the afternoon. Looper started. Perez out there now and a relief help on the way in. Troy Gathright already 2 for 2 here this afternoon. A couple singles, a run scored, an RBI. One was a high hop single up the 3rd baseline. The next one is a sharply hit ground ball through the left side of the infield. That was the RBI single coming in the 4th. Royals been playing catch up all afternoon. They're still trying to play some catch up, trailing at 7-4. They're getting a little deeper into the Cardinal bullpen. Now Springer is their 3rd pitcher of the afternoon. Pitches for the 2nd consecutive day. Came on to pitch the 9th inning here last night. No hits, 1 walk for Springer. This is his 32nd appearance of the season. Solid numbers up and down the board. 2.19 ERA, and the strikeout to walk ratio is 2-1. Royals have runners on 1st and 2nd. Tien's the runner at 2nd. Buck on over at 1st. Outside ball 1 to Gathright.
Well, as Fred White likes to say, if you want to dream a little bit.
Going to take a little dreaming today.
Royals had that great comeback a week ago today, and the Cardinals have 18 losses in the bullpen and 19 blown saves.
Making a ball and a strike to Gathright. Gathright's been struggling with his average all season long. He's right about the 250 mark, but he's hitting some 35 points better than that here at home. I was hoping to cash in on those numbers here as he bats in the bottom of the 5th. Royals didn't get on the board till the 3rd. They got a single run on Braden Looper. Got 2 more in the 4th. They've scored another here in the 5th. It's upstairs with the fastball. 2 balls and a strike on Gathright. Springer, the veteran right-hander, has been in the big leagues the last 13 years. Signed as a free agent at the end of the 06 season, then signed again for another year at the end of the 07 season. Last year, a career high 76 appearances for Springer. There's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Gathright, the 6th hitter to come to the plate in this inning. Runners on Chris Perez. He goes an inning and a third, gives up a couple hits, walks 1. Charged with a run already and also responsible for the 2 runners now on for KC. Springer ready with the 2-2. Caught him looking. Got the fastball in the inside corner. No arguments from Gathright. Royals get 1, Strand 2 more. Trail at 7-4. Cardinals at one time this afternoon led 5-0. Royals been playing catch up ever since and doing a pretty decent job of it. Now trailing 7-4 as we've played 5 innings. Winner of today's game wins the best 2 out of 3 series. And it'll be the top of the order due up for the Cardinals as they bat in the top of the 6th inning. Windy afternoon at Kauffman Stadium. Temperature was in the lower 80s at game time. Joel Peralta, the Royals' second pitcher of the afternoon. Peralta coming on for the 20th time this year. Wins 2 losses. Opened the season in the minor leagues. This is second recall to the big league ball club. And it'll be Skip Schumacher leading things off. Schumacher 1 for 3 this afternoon. Shows bunt. Takes ball 1.
That ball got too much of the plate.
Can't let that happen.
No, you can't throw the ball over that much of the plate and expect to get a strike call.
Gordon in tight at third base. Schumacher sets up and pitches across at the knees. It'll be Schumacher, Miles, and Pujols. Schumacher now with a 6-game hitting streak.
The scoreboard at Kauffman Stadium has the count 0-2. That's because everyone in the stadium figured that that first pitch was a strike, but it was called a ball.
Just fixed it for us. It's 2 balls and a strike. Umpire Mike Winters. Joel Peralta, one of the final cuts in spring training. This might have been one of the real surprises we had coming out of camp. I don't think there were many people figured Leo Nunez was going to make the team. Figured Peralta probably had the inside track, but Nunez did make the club. Peralta went to AAA Omaha. I'm talking to Bob McClure, the Royals brass, thinking Nunez was on the team all the way. Loved his arm, loved the way Peralta competed, but Nunez had the inside track. 2 balls, 2 strikes here. Peralta misses with the off-speed pitch. Jason Isringhausen now beginning to warm in the Cardinals bullpen. Isringhausen has had a tough year with injuries. Peralta with the 3-2. Off of his glove. Grudzielanek charges, is able to make the play. Good adjustment by Grudzielanek to get Schumacher at first.
Peralta began his professional career as an infielder in the Oakland A's organization, so he fields his position well. Got some glove on it, but didn't deflect it enough that it took Grudzielanek out of the play. Just took some steam out of that ground ball.
And Aaron Miles will be next for the Cardinals. 1 for 2 officially with a sacrifice. And knocked down by Gordon. Got time to make the play. Strong throw, not in time. If it's on line, Glode can help him with the stretch. As it is, Glode had to stretch out to just flag down that throw. Take another look.
That thing looked like it might have kicked up and hit Alex on the jaw. Alex showing off his strong arm with the throw. But mild speed beats it. And Exmo shows us that it was the right call by first base umpire Brian Knight.
So Miles on first base, and Albert Pujols will hit next. Albert caught looking his last time up. First time he's been retired here this afternoon. Doubled in the first, walked and scored in the third. Pujols now 2 for 8 here this weekend. The stadium's gotten very quiet as everybody checking out the all-star designated hitter Albert Pujols. Really a luxury for him to be able to come to an American League City now, just off the disabled list. Come in and be the designated hitter. Doesn't have to go out and play first base every day. Got 4 hits in his first game back. That was the Thursday game against the Tigers. He was the DH that day. That's a good breaking ball, finding the strike zone. It's 2-1.
Split, I don't think if you're the Cardinals you're worried so much about Pujols re-injuring the calf, running the bases, or making a play at first base. I think you're more worried about him just doing all that standing around at first base. And that's why you see so many low back injuries, hamstring injuries, because of all the standing around, and then you have to fire into going full speed. I think you see more lower back and hamstring injuries in this sport than any other. Football, basketball, hockey, there's always constant motion. But baseball, you don't see it as much this time of year because it's warm, but certainly when it's cold, just standing in the field, you're standing for 2-3 innings, nothing happens, and then all of a sudden you're running as hard as you can to try and catch a ball in the gap.
Peralta with another 3-ball count. And there goes the base runner. It was a foul ball right side. So Miles will go back to first. It's 3-2 on the hitter Pujols.
So sometimes it's not a very good gauge, as we saw Pujols taking ground balls in St. Louis. Well, he comes out there for 10-15 minutes. He's getting rapid fire ground ball after ground ball. It's not the way it works in the game. In the game, you might get 1 ground ball every 3 or 4 innings. The rest of the time, just a lot of standing around, which will cause the legs to get heavy.
Pujols was able to get those calves loose for those ground ball drills over in St. Louis. Didn't look like he was hurt at all. Miles was running on the last pitch. You got to think he'll be going again right here. So Peralta goes to first base. There goes the base runner. There goes the drive to left. See how hard this wind is blowing. Not going to be hard enough. Pujols has hit a 2-run home run.
Split, it's never just one thing, but if you want to sum up Joel Peralta's problems this year with the Royals, it's been the home run. He's recorded 2 outs today, giving him 24 innings pitched, but he's given up 8 home runs.
And number 8 was an impressive shot off the bat of Albert Pujols. Into the teeth of a wind, he deposited in the Cardinals bullpen. And as Gathright went back to the fence, you could tell it was a no-doubter. So the Cardinals add 2 more here in the top of the 6th. The Royals having trouble shutting down their offense. Royals down 9-4. And they're going back to their bullpen. Jimmy Gobble coming out now. Royals trying to play catch up here this afternoon, but they can't put the stops on the Cardinals as Albert Pujols has unloaded a 2-run home run here in the top of the 6th inning. Pujols with his 9th home run here at Kauffman Stadium in interleague play. Royals' 3rd pitch of the afternoon is Jimmy Gobble. He hadn't pitched in a while. In fact, he hadn't pitched since a week ago Friday, the first game of the homestand. Just the 9th inning against the Giants. That was the ball game that the Royals lost to San Francisco. Comes on here to face Rick Ankiel. Gobble was the situational lefty early in the year, not getting much work right now as he comes on for just the 26th time. Better than an 8-point ERA.
And that appearance against the Giants gives him before today. 1 appearance in 18 days.
Good breaking ball there. And Keel swinging through it. The snowball's 2 strikes. Brian Bannister started, went the first 4 2/3 innings. Responsible for the first 7 runs the Cardinals scored here this afternoon. Joel Peralta was next. He went 2/3 of an inning. Gave up a couple hits. Now Gobble on for KC, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. Still just 1 out in the inning. And Keel, the hitter, Ryan Ludwig, waits in the on-deck circle. And Keel has a home run in the series. And Keel has 4 home runs in his last 9 games. And rips that one by Glode, headed for the right field corner. He's on his way to second base. Tian has the ball back into the infield. It's a 1-out double for Ann Keel.
Well, you don't say that very often. Ripped it by Glode, but Ross was playing well off the line. Normally Glode, if he's going to cheat one way or the other, likes to cheat towards the line because he has such good range to his right. So take the extra base hit away by playing close to the line, knowing that he's going to get a lot of balls in the hole on the right side.
Now here's Ludwig. Ludwig, a base hit and a run scored his last time up. He's 1 for 2 today. Cardinals have gotten base runners from every spot in their batting order. Cardinals have gotten hits from every spot in their batting order except the 7th spot, Adam Kennedy. And he's walked twice, scored twice, driven home another run. So haven't exactly been the black hole in the lineup today. And it's 0-2 on Ludwig. Mentioned Ludwig has been slumping recently, but he's still got 40 extra base hits, ranked 6th in the National League, also 6th in the league in slugging percentage. So while his average is down some 25 points, still a productive hitter for St. Louis. Hitting 5th here this afternoon. Gampa with the advantage, no balls, 2 strikes. It's going to hold that way as that ball's well fouled. Cardinals were not expected to be contenders this year. Cardinals in kind of a rebuilding mode. They finished less than 500 last year, went 78-84. It was their first losing year since 1999. Expected to finish somewhere in the middle of the pack in the National League Central Division this year, but they're the team that is trailing the Cubs right now and trying to put some heat on Chicago. Just 3.5 games back. Milwaukee was the trendy pick coming into the season. Milwaukee had a great 3/4 of a year last year, but then really slipped the last month of the season, especially the last week and a half. Their team felt the pressure. They did not swing the bat well, kind of faded down the stretch. Everybody thought they'd bounce back and be a little bit better this year. Gobble misses with the breaking ball. It's 1-2.
I sure thought they were good last year. We were there about a year ago at this time during interleague play, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Royals in Milwaukee, but it seemed like every hitter was big and strong, and they had great team speed.
Braun, the third baseman, was rookie of the year. He moved to left field. Hart was a big right fielder. We couldn't keep him off base as that ball goes to the screen. And into third base goes Ann Keel. That is a wild pitch charged to Gobble. And the Royals will pull the infield in. They're going to give up any more runs right here, so they're hoping Gobble can get a ground ball off the bat of Ludwig. Ludwig hits out of that slightly open stance, but he'll close it up when Gobble delivers the pitch. Right at Gordon, and trapped off third base's Keel. Ludwig can't hit it any harder, but he ripped it into a double play. The Royals out of the 6th inning, but Cardinals do more damage. Albert Pujols with the 2-run home run. Cardinals lead it 9-4 in spite of that last play. Royals have scored in each of the last 3 innings. They've put 4 on the scoreboard, but can't slow down St. Louis. As we go to the bottom of the 6th inning, Royals need a grand slam and more to get back into this one. Brian Gardner from Kansas City, Missouri is our contestant in the Sonic Slam inning. $1,200 on the line for a home run here on the bottom of the 6th. And going to win $25,000 from Sonic and the Royals for a grand slam out of the ballpark. Royals have the top of the order due up. That means Herman, Aviles, and Gordon against another new pitcher. This is Jason Isringhausen, off the disabled list a couple weeks ago. He was out with a laceration on his hand. And also trying to line up his psyche. You see the lofty earned run average of 5 3/4. 28th appearance for Isringhausen this year. 6 decisions. He's lost 5 of them. And he's seen 7 save opportunities get away. So Isringhausen, the 4th pitcher of the afternoon for St. Louis. Mr. Herman leading things off. He's 1 for 2 today, picking up David DeJesus in the 2nd inning. David opened the ball game. Involved in a collision at home plate with Jason LaRue, bruised his lower rib cage area, and listed as day to day. Royals with a good day at the plate. 4 runs, 8 hits. They've also stranded 8 base runners. Isringhausen's fastball is just off the outside corner. It's 1-1. That DeJesus collision with LaRue came in the very 1st inning. Thrown out on this play and bruised up in the process. Notice as he lands in the helmet of LaRue. Did a little dead cat bounce, didn't he?
We want to apologize to all the cat lovers out there.
How about the David DeJesus lovers?
The opinions and comments of the broadcasters don't necessarily reflect those of
Brian
FSN.
Lefevre. Scratch out that top. There you go. How else do you describe that bounce?
Well, you know, use an animal that people are okay with being dead, you know? Like that was a dead coyote bounce.
How about a dead stock market bounce?
Otherwise, you know,
right side, it's 2-2.
We got fans at home, you know, sitting on the couch enjoying the Royals and, you know, petting little Fifi, and you got to drop a dead cat on them.
On the ground to the 2nd baseman, and Kennedy to his left. That's the 1st out of the inning.
Remember when Scott Sullivan was pitching for the Royals, and good Southern boy, had some great lines and a great accent, and he was commenting once about how close-knit the Royals were, and he said it was one of the huggiest teams he'd ever been on, and we thought that's interesting. But then he took it a step further and says, if you were to go in the clubhouse and swing a dead cat, you'd have a tough time missing somebody who wasn't hugging somebody else.
Whatever happened to him? You know, he had a great start of the season that one year.
Yeah.
And just fell out of sight.
Yeah.
He was entertaining. Here's Mike Aviles looking for his 1st hit of the day. He's 0 for 2. And down on the count here to Isringhausen. It's a ball and a strike. Ooh, had quite a hack and just missed it. Looking for the fastball, got it and fouled it straight back. Aviles did not get cheated on that one. Isringhausen not normally the pitcher you can kind of sit on a pitch. Talk about a guy who's aggressive, always had a good fastball, but his curveball's about as good as he gets as well. No longer used as their closer, more as a setup man right now. Barusa goes with a closer by committee. And there's that curveball. It stayed upstairs. It's 2-2. Got him looking. Isringhausen threading the outside corner. It's the second out of the inning. Brian Gardner from Kansas City is down to his final out in the Sonic Slam inning. Borderline pitcher. Pitch. Cardinals get the call. And here's Alex Gordon. Big plate appearance for him his last time up. He batted with the bases loaded and 2 outs and fly to left field. Still looking for his first hit of the day. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. Swings over the top of the cutter. He's down on the count. LaRue sets up outside. Isringhausen. It's the breaking ball across at the knees, and it snowballs 2 strikes on Gordon. Alex with a double and a home run already in this series, 4 RBIs. We're talking about last Sunday. By this time in the ballgame, the Royals had already gained the momentum and appeared to be running down San Francisco. The Giants just trying to get to the end of that ballgame. They had a struggling relief corps. Royals came from down 10-3 here last Sunday afternoon to win at 11-10. Cardinals going to try to keep that from happening again today. Isringhausen's fastball misses outside. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cardinals pitchers have had 1-1-2-3 inning here this afternoon. That was Braden Looper's second inning. And a strikeout and 2 infield ground balls. Looked like he was getting ready to roll, but then the Royals started to get the offense cranked up. Scored in the 3rd, scored 2 more in the 4th, scored again in the 5th. Two and 2 to Gordon. Looked like he had Alex all tied up, but Isringhausen's reaction tells you that pitch did not go where he wanted it.
Radar showing 88 to 90 with his fastball. Isringhausen used to throw in the mid to upper 90s. But now much more deliberate, it seems, and just kind of can lull the hitter to sleep with a slow motion and makes 90 look a lot faster than that.
Off-speed pitch right there, and you get the feeling he's strong. In fact, he might be hurting. There was a rumor that he had hurt a knee in that Tiger series. In fact, was having an MRI when they came to Kansas City. He looks something short of healthy, doesn't he?
Well, he's had his share of ailments lately. A couple of surgeries on his hip.
Good enough to get the strikeout. In fact, good enough to get 2 strikeouts in the inning. He gets Aviles looking. He gets Gordon swinging.
Okay. 7th inning, Cardinals leading 9-4. They've had big contributions from 2 hitters today. Former Royal Jason LaRue, who has driven in 4, and Albert Pujols, who has driven in 2. It'll be Chris Duncan, Adam Kennedy, and then LaRue here in the 7th inning against Jimmy Gobble, who came on in relief last inning of Joel Peralta right after Peralta gave up the Pujols home run. Gobble allowed a double to Rick Ankiel, and then Ryan Ludwig almost hit a line drive through Alex Gordon at 3rd, but Alex grabbed it, ran to 3rd to double off Ankiel, and that's how Gobble got out of the 6th. 1-1 on Duncan. He's 1 for 3 with an RBI. Former first-round draft pick of the St. Louis Cardinals and son of longtime Cardinal pitching coach Dave Duncan. And Ross Glode will take care of Duncan at first base. You know, the Duncans have something in common. None of them got to the big leagues very fast. It took 7 years for Chris Duncan to get to the big leagues. It also took 7 years for his older brother Shelley, who was a former second-round pick of the Yankees, to get to the big leagues. And their father, Dave Duncan, it took him 5 years to get to the big leagues.
And Shelley's back in the minor leagues, I believe. Maybe back and forth a couple different times this year.
Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa actually developed their friendship right here in Kansas City. They're both in the A's organization. And in 1963, Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa played for the Kansas City A's. And then, of course, the Kansas City A's became the Oakland A's, and both made it to the big leagues with the A's. Duncan had a much longer big league career than Tony La Russa. And then coached together with Oakland, won a World Series together in 1989. And when Tony La Russa took the Cardinal job, he took Dave Duncan with him. Adam Kennedy out on a fly ball to center field, 2 down in the 7th inning. On Sunday, July the 6th, you can take a journey down memory lane to see legendary heroes like Ruth, Williams, Robinson, and DiMaggio in a rare collection of video that brings America's pastime to life like never before. Baseball's Golden Age. The series premieres July 6th at 8 p.m. here on FSN Kansas City. Now 2 down, bases empty for Jason LaRue, who has a 2-run home run and a 2-run triple.
Ryan, you're talking about the careers of Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan, have played against La Russa in AAA. He was in Des Moines and I was in Omaha. Jason LaRue having quite an afternoon today. A home run and that knuckleball triple that he hit to center field. Got a chance to get out and show his wheels.
Joey Gathright showing off his wheels into left center field and retires LaRue. That's the first time the Cardinals have gone down 1-2-3. There's Sam Beckett, Royals Stadium organist. Just got done performing God Bless America. Now Take Me Out to the Ball Game as we reach the 7th inning stretch. Cardinals leading the Royals 9-4 in the last game of the I-70 series and the last game of interleague play. Today's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals. Ryan Lefebvre with Paul Splittorff and Joel Goldberg with producer Kevin Schenk, director Will Belke, associate producers Al Broughton and Sam Abramson. And since it's the 7th inning stretch, we'll say hello to our good buddy Swanee Ron Swan, who does one of the best Harry Carey impersonations on the planet. One of the great guys, one of the funny guys on our FSN Kansas City crew. And Swanee is not only the what they call the high home camera, which is the one that gets the majority of the game shots when the ball is put in play, but he's up here in the booth with us. Royals will have Jose Guillen, Mark Grudzielanek, and Mark Teahan in the bottom of the 7th inning. Jason Isringhausen hit the Royals 1-2-3 in the 6th with a couple of strikeouts. Guillen's single in the 1st inning ended an 0-for-13 skid.
Ryan, we keep going back to that ball game last Sunday against the Giants, and you had made the comment last week that both managers were looking for that relief pitcher to come in and put the brakes on things, somebody to take charge of the ball game. And right now, looks like Jason Isringhausen is going to be that guy for St. Louis. Come in, he's faced 4, he's retired all 4, 3 of them by strikeouts.
Well, he's not throwing 97 with big hard knuckle curveball, but just watching him in the 6th inning and the last pitch he made to Guillen, looks like he's developed a nice cut fastball at around 90 miles per hour.
A lot of guys that hang around a while will come up with a new trick or two just to keep people off balance.
Ooh, Guillen had a good rip at that one. 1 ball, 2 strikes. A week ago today, the Royals were down 6-0 and 10-3 to the San Francisco Giants and won the game 11-10. Today they've been down by 5 runs twice, 5-0 and now 9-4. There's the knuckle curveball. Guillen strikes out for the 2nd time, and that's 3 strikeouts against 4 batters for Isringhausen.
Mixing fastball and curveball. Mentioned earlier that curveball at times in his career has been about as good as anything around, but second caught looking for Isringhausen.
Mark Grudzielanik's had a good day at the plate. 2 hits, 2 runs scored. Isringhausen, just like Royals starter Luke Hochevar, wearing the number 44, which is much more of a hitter's number. You think of Hank Aaron, who wore number 44, Reggie Jackson. Isringhausen wears that number as a reminder of what round he was drafted in. 44th round back in 1991. He was drafted out of the St. Louis area, but he was taken by the New York Mets. And as the story goes, he was accidentally noticed by a Mets scout who was there to watch another player. Grudzielanik pounds it into deep left field, but it's into that wind. Schumacher is back, and it's off the top of the wall. Grudzielanik missed a home run by inches. He ends up with his 3rd hit and 2nd double of the day.
Grudzielanik, who went 0 for 3 with a walk here last night, having a pretty good afternoon. 3 consecutive base hits. Starts it out with shooting a base hit to right, then towards the left field corner, now to the top of the wall and straight up left field. So 5 total bases for Grudzielanik in his last 3 at bats. That pitch up in the strike zone. Got a good high ball hitter.
You know, it looked like Schumacher was not making a good play because he got so close to the fence. But then I'm reminded, Split, when I see the ball come off the fence, that now that that padding is gone in left center field and it's replaced by that chain link in front of the new scoreboard, you're not going to get any bad bounces off that. An outfielder can afford to get close to the wall and not worry about it hitting the wall and then bouncing far away from him.
And left field will play so much different than center field or even right field in this ballpark, because so much of that outfield, in fact almost all of it, is that chain link fence. In right field, about half of it is the chain link to the Royals bullpen. The rest of it is the pads. In center field, it's almost all padding all the way across that outfield. So left field plays a little different here off the wall than any of the other outfields. Once you get to the advertising signs and the dark green padded wall and straight up center field, that's all pads. Very cushy to run into.
So big change there. The chain link will absorb the ball, but once it hits the pads, it's going to bounce. Tien bounces it off the wall in the right field corner. So after a strikeout, the Royals have back-to-back doubles, and they will not go away today. It's a 4-run game. Tien with his 2nd hit.
Makes the strikeout of Guillen to open this inning kind of a big deal. You'd love to have had another man on base. Royals starting to run out of outs in this game. The later it goes, the game's still trailing. You need to lean on the long ball a little bit more. Back-to-back doubles here in the 7th.
And now Ross Glode. He's had some good swings today. Singled in the 4th inning, scored a run, and then lined out to left field for a sacrifice fly in the 5th. It was a week ago today in that wild comeback against San Francisco that Ross Glode picked up an RBI for the first time in about a month and a half. And he's been a different hitter ever since. And hitters, and I don't know if this is the case with Glode or not, Split, but hitters and pitchers will claim, I don't look at my statistics. But when you go a month and a half without an RBI, you know it's there.
When you go as long as he did in this season without a home run, and the guys are giving the ignore it look, when you get to the dugout, you know you've gone a while. And that happened to Glode earlier on this homestand. So you might not look at your stats, but other guys know what's going on. Got to be ready to defend yourself.
So the RBI on Sunday, and then homered in the Colorado series, which was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Here's that hard cutter or slider, and he throws it down and into a left-hand batter, and Isringhausen has 4 strikeouts.
Martin, good plate appearance for him. Ryan, we've talked so much about hitting for power. Is he going to hit for power? Well, good lower half mechanics right here. He's going to turn on a pitch that is in, get out in front. He clears that front side, so he gets the bat head out in front and pulls it into the right field corner. The important thing is you don't want to always clear that front side. You've got to be ready to cover the middle to the outer half of the plate, which is something he does really well. But they say cover that outer half and then react to the pitch in. Tien just reacted well to that pitch in.
So 2 down. John Buck takes ball 1. 2 walks for Buck and a ground ball to third base. The Royals, in their recent stretch of victories, the Royals have won 11 of their last 13 games, have been scoring more runs, and they've been getting more clutch hits. Clutch hits being base hits with 2 outs. But the Royals today, with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, are 0 for 4. (3-0) on Buck.
Royals have already had a good offensive day, Ryan, when you look at the numbers, but there's so much more needed. Kind of throws everything out of kilter a little bit when you're talking about clutch at bats and what you are with men in scoring position. That's because the Royals had a problem in the starting pitching department here this afternoon.
4-pitch walk, and Buck on base for the 3rd time with a walk. So 2 on, and now Joey Gathright. Joey with 2 hits today. A run scored and his 15th RBI, and here comes Tony La Russa. He's going to bring on his 5th pitcher of the game, so he gets an inning and 2/3 out of Jason Isringhausen, and a pitching change for the Cardinals. Don't forget, high school and college students with a valid school ID get an outfield plaza or view box ticket for just $7 each on Inc. College Nights. That's every Wednesday, and it's a $10 discount. College night tickets are available at Kauffman Stadium an hour and a half before the next Wednesday home game. That's the Royals and the White Sox, coming up on July the 9th. Kyle McClellan is the new Cardinal pitcher.
Pitching for the 2nd day in a row. He came in here last night and threw 2 innings, gave up 1 hit, no runs, got a strikeout. Royals also faced him over in St. Louis a couple weeks ago.
Gathright too far, an abbreviated swing. With 1 out, Mark Grudzielanek doubled. Mark Tien doubled. That scored Grudzielanek. And with 2 outs, John Buck on base with a walk. Kennedy flips over to second base. Brendan Ryan forces out Buck. Royals get one in the 7th to make it a 4-run game. The largest high-definition screen in the world, with a shot of the K crew trying to get the fans all revved up as we go to the 8th inning. Cardinals ahead by 4. Remember, time is running out. If you want to vote for your 2008 All-Star selections, you can help send your favorite Royal to the All-Star game. You can vote up to 25 times if you go to Royals.com. Voting ends on Wednesday, July the 2nd, so that's this upcoming Wednesday at 10:59 p.m. Central Time.
Royals have some options this year. There have been some other years where the only guy was going to go was because the Royals had to be represented, but that's not the case here in 2008. David DeJesus ought to be grabbing some attention. You would think Jose Guillen. But if you look at the voting, have you noticed it lately? Red Sox, Yankees at almost every position.
Red Sox have the best record in Major League Baseball. The Yankees have moved to 7 games above 500. In fact, 4 of the 5 teams in the American League East are above 500. Only the Blue Jays below 500 in the East. Brendan Ryan into right field, and Mark Teahen fighting the sun and angling away from the glare retires Brendan Ryan. He's 1 for 4. Jimmy Gobble's been in there since the 6th inning. Got the last 2 outs in relief of Joel Peralta. And now Gobble has retired the last 5. Pitching for just the 2nd time in the last 19 days. Skip Schumacher 1 for 4. Those at bats against right-handers Brian Bannister and Joel Peralta. He has scored one of the runs, one of the 9 Cardinal runs today, and he gets a base hit into right field. So Schumacher, who normally struggles against left-hand pitching, in fact, he's about 180 points better against righties, gets a 1-out single.
Looks like a pretty natural swing right here as Gobble drops down, but you tend to open up on your front side as a hitter when the pitcher goes sidearm against you. So Jimmy really needs to get that pitch down and away. If you're going to pitch inside, he wants to stay with that high 3/4 release point. You mentioned Gobble not getting much action in the last 3 weeks. A little easier to get buried now in that Royals bullpen. Got 3 lefties out there with the addition of Horacio Ramirez to join Ron Mayhay, who's the most used left-hander on the staff, along with Gobble. So they're 3 deep in that bullpen right now. And at this stage probably need to be, because they've got all right-handers in their starting rotation.
Aaron Miles has extended his hitting streak to 11 games, 2 hits and a run scored. He also dropped down a sac bunt in the Cardinals' biggest inning, a 3-run third. He has started a game in this series at shortstop. That was Friday, second base last night, and now third base this afternoon. David DeJesus with a 13-game hitting streak coming in today. Walked in the first inning, didn't hit again after that collision with Jason LaRue. But since that is not an official at bat, DeJesus will not lose his hitting streak today. Two and one. Gobble evens the count at 2-2. Royals sweeping the first game of the series with St. Louis. It was the first time all year the Cardinals had been swept in a series. And that was about 10 days ago. It was the first time they had lost a series, period, in over a month. Royals hoping for a win today and win their 5th straight series. And it would mean they'd win all 6 series against the National League this year.
Ryan, Royals in that stretch of winning 11 out of 13 have almost offset that 12-game losing streak. We talked about the importance of winning series because this club was probably not to get put together a long winning streak, but they have turned it around and done that.
Schumacher is running, and John Buck can't find the grip. Don't know if he had a shot at getting Schumacher, who got an enormous jump off of Jimmy Gobble.
With Gobble's delivery to the plate, he has to try to freeze that base runner. Base runner guessed right there, but it is a long time from that base runner's move to where Gobble even unloads that pitch to the plate. He's better than 3/4 of the way down there. And Buck had no chance even if he had made a good exchange and a rocket throw.
Miles wasn't sure that.
Cardinal fans are smiling here this afternoon. They lead 9-5, and they get to see Albert Pujols hit with a couple runners on base. Cardinals batting the top of the 8th inning. Ramon Ramirez out of the Royals bullpen. 2nd time in this series, 5th time on the homestand.
Skip Schumacher at 2nd base and Aaron Miles at 1st. With 1 out, Schumacher singled, stole 2nd, and then Miles with the walk against Jimmy Gobble. Pujols has scored twice, 2 hits, has a double, and a 2-run home run. And belted to deep left field again. Herman has room this time right in front of the chain link fence. So even when he makes out, it's exciting. A long, loud, harmless out.
Ball way out on the end of the bat. That's how strong he is. And even into that wind. Hits it almost to the bullpen gate.
Now Rick Ankiel. Ankiel's had a 4-hit series. He has a 2-run home run. That was in the game last night. RBI, a run scored today, batting with 2 on, 2 out. And a good changeup down, 1 ball, 1 strike. You know, Split, the Ankiel story is a good one as it is, but most players that make a switch from either position player to pitcher or pitcher to position player were really not much to talk about in their former position. Rick Ankiel, despite his control problems, he was a guy that threw in the mid-90s with good movement, pitched inside, but lost his control in the postseason of 2000 and down on strikes here in the 8th. Royals with 6 more outs to go on offense. And they've been fighting to stay in this game all day. At one point down 5-0, made it 5-3. And the Cardinals were ahead 7-3. It was then 7-4. Cardinals ahead 9-4. Royals getting a run in the bottom of the 7th, and that's where we stand now. 9-5 St. Louis. Esteban Herman, Mike Aviles, Alex Gordon in the 8th inning against Kyle McClellan. Herman 1 for 3. Came on defensively for David DeJesus in the top of the 3rd inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. And he has his 2nd hit. Might have an extra base hit, but Ankiel gets to the gap to cut it off, and he has that great arm. So Herman 2 for 4, and the Royals have the leadoff man on.
Herman will always play with a lot of energy, especially this stage where he's not getting a lot of playing time. Good fastball hitter. That's what he got as he shoots this one to left center field. Ankiel with the good athleticism to go over and cut it off. Look how hard Herman runs the bases. They're going to have to take the double away from him, which Ankiel did in center field. Good defensive play by the Cardinal outfield.
Now Aviles breaks his bat in half and sneaks one through the right side, and Herman hustles again and goes 1st to 3rd. So down by 4. Royals have runners at 1st and 3rd and nobody out in the 8th inning.
I'm sure Tony La Russa would like to see McClellan finish this ball game. He's already their 5th pitcher that they've used here this afternoon, but the Royals keep the offense going.
Before Alex Gordon digs in, he's the subject of today's Ford play of the game.
Jimmy Gamba was in to get out of that 6th inning. Gave up a double, and then this line drive that turned into a double play. Alex Gordon taking a base hit away from Ryan Ludwig, turning it into a double play.
Right behind first base coach Rusty Kuntz. Alex 0 for 3. He has been on base with a walk. Back in the 4th inning, batted with the bases loaded and 2 down and flied out to left field. The Royals are 0 for 5 today with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. They have runners at 1st and 3rd with nobody out here in the 8th inning, down by 4.
In a 1-run ball game or in a tie game, hitter in this situation be just looking to find a way to get their runner home from 3rd. But the Royals need a whole lot more than that right now from anybody who comes to the plate.
Busted bat, and it's going to be caught by Brendan Ryan. So McClellan comes up with a big pitch and in on the hands of Alex Gordon, bringing up Jose Guillen. And now Jason LaRue out to visit with Kyle McClellan and walking out there as slowly as he can. Maybe trying to slow things down for the Cardinal bullpen. Right-hander Ryan Franklin is starting to warm up, and Tony La Russa's at the bottom of the Cardinal steps.
Ryan, as slow as LaRue went out there, he really didn't have anything to say to the pitcher. Normally if the catcher's got something to say, he goes out there and you can tell he's walking with a purpose. LaRue was in no hurry right there. So even if they don't make the pitching change, that would have been somebody from the Cardinals dugout telling him to go out and talk to his pitcher and take some time doing it.
When you were on the mound, did you know that the catcher's coming out and he really has nothing to say?
Yeah, deep inside you do, especially when you look him in the eye and he's lost.
So
sometimes they said an infielder. Catcher won't go.
So what does a catcher say to you? What's been some of the creative things? Well,
now there it was right there. I mean, he wasn't going to throw another pitch. You know, put on a couple plays that buys a little bit more time. Now let's go ahead and do the fake to third, throw to first.
Somebody did yell balk, by the way. So Ryan Franklin will come on to face Jose Guillen. For the 3rd inning, they're threatening here in the bottom of the 8th inning with runners at 1st and 3rd, 1 out, and Jose Guillen will be facing the 6th Cardinal pitcher today, right-hander Ryan Franklin.
Royals have threatened to score in 4 out of the last 5 innings. Still hoping to get something done here in the 8th as Franklin comes on for the 39th time this year. Saved 10 and 14 opportunities. Normally set up as a setup man. It would be the rotation that they'd use in their bullpen late inning relievers. Franklin now given more opportunities late. Tony La Russa waiting as long as he had to get to Franklin.
Quiet day for Jose Guillen, although in the first inning he singled and that ended an 0 for 13 stretch. It's been a quiet series for Guillen. Just 1 for 11. And he's just 2 out of 16 in prior meetings with Ryan Franklin.
This is where you can't give away at bats. A long one right here. And you got a 1-run game. Well, it's that close to the Cardinals, and you get the feeling La Russa feels that.
A pop up to the right side. Ludwig in from right field to make the play. So first and third, nobody out. A pop up to short, a pop out to right, and now first and third, 2 down. Excellent day for Mark Grudzielanek. 2 doubles, a single, 3 runs scored. And here's another situation for the Royals with a runner in scoring position and 2 outs. And so far today, they are 0 for 5 in those situations. Ball 1. Grudzielanek's only faced Ryan Franklin once before today's game. 0 for 1. Busted bat, and the Royals are going to have their 6th run of the game. Mike Aviles will go first to third. So they produced a pile of firewood in this inning with busted bats flying all over the place, but the Royals have made it a 3-run game.
Mark Grudzielanek not happy with that at bat because ends up not squaring the ball up on his bat to where he can hit with power. It's right out at the end. It shatters before it ever leaves his hand. So he's got a soft single to center field. Grudzielanek a 4-hit performance here this afternoon. Remember, he was not in the original starting lineup today. As we're hoping he'd come out hot after missing a few games with that sore lower back.
And now Mark Teahen is a potential tying run at the plate. And Teahen has had a good day. 2 hits, including a double and an RBI, and one of his outs was a great play in center field on a line drive by Rick Ankiel.
And with that wind blowing out to right field, Ryan Franklin's got to do everything he can to keep Teahen from pulling the ball. Whatever tricks he's got, he wants to break it out right here. Potential tying run at the plate.
He had a home run rip. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Teahen has faced Ryan Franklin 4 times before today. 0 for 3 with a walk.
We don't see Mark take many swings like that where he's going for it all in one swing of the bat. It's not taking a little extra time before he steps in. He's got to get back to his line drive mode where he works the middle of the field.
Somebody yelled balk. I heard it. Did you hear it?
I heard you.
Somebody always yells balk when a pitcher fakes to third and looks over to first. Important pitch coming up, and LaRue and Franklin want to talk it over. Royals have scored in 5 of the last 6 innings, but they haven't had a big inning yet, with the definition being an inning with 3 runs or more. On the outside corner. So after pitching him down and in, Franklin puts him away with a fastball away. Well, the first 2 games of the series, very fast games. Last night in the Cardinals 5-1 game, 2 hours 31 minutes, and the Royals 7-2 game on Friday, 2 hours 38 minutes. And this is one of those games that requires a lot of concentration on part of the players, as we're approaching 3.5 hours. Final game of a long homestand for the Royals. Final game of a long road trip for the Cardinals. It'll be Ryan Ludwig, Chris Duncan, and Adam Kennedy against Robinson Tejeda. Ludwig on base twice today with a walk and a single. Both of those plate appearances against Brian Bannister. Tough day for Banny. 4 2/3 innings, allowed 7 runs, 9 hits. Joel Peralta gave up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning, and Jimmy Gobble just completed 2 scoreless innings. And Joey Gathright into deep right center field retires Ludwig for the first out of the 9th. Chris Duncan to the plate. Got our first look at Robinson Tejeda last night. Pitched a scoreless 9th inning. Did allow a walk, but then finished off the inning by striking out Yadier Molina and Brendan Ryan on fastballs in the mid-90s.
Used late each of the last 2 days, Ryan. I would guess if the Royals get him 3 or 4 appearances where they've got a good feel for his stuff and he's going to be successful at the big league level by throwing strikes, I would guess he would go into the middle or long relief. And if the Royals continue to get the good starting pitching on a consistent basis, that is the guy that is usually overlooked in that bullpen. He's one of those guys that's in a tough situation. Something bad has to happen to the team first before he can usually get in a game.
Two and one on Chris Duncan. Well, just from last night, we can see why Dayton Moore was intrigued when he saw Tejeda placed on waivers by the Texas Rangers with his arm and some of the numbers he was putting on the radar gun. 2-2.
Sometimes those guys will go on the waivers wire, and if your club has done a job of scouting, they can look at somebody like this and over a period of time say, make notes on mechanics. If there's something that you would rework in his game, if you got him in your organization, then you take a look at the recent reports. Is he healthy? When he goes on waivers, you think, okay, get him into the organization. We got some guys that teach a couple things and do it effectively. We might be able to, as I like to say, fix him to where you can come out with more of a pitcher than what the last team had.
Mark Teahan makes a nice play in right field, holding Duncan to a single.
Normally thought of to be a very slow outfield here in Kansas City. That grass is thick this time of year, although it'll get a little harder and a little more dried out, get a little faster as you head into those hot summer months. But that ball looked like it had a little skip to it.
But talking about taking a guy and fixing him, Dave Duncan obviously has that great reputation in St. Louis, and he's helped out so many pitchers that look like they were at the end of their career, but moving on to the Cardinals and adding several years to their career. And had a chance to visit with him on Friday, and the fascinating thing about talking to him is that for him it's not a science, it's just getting back to the basics. Kennedy avoids hitting into a double play as the throw was a little offline from Aviles.
Royals with a good opportunity to turn a double play. It's not the easiest ones because all those throws are a little bit longer. That allows the lead base runner to get in at the feet of the middle infielder. That's a factor on the play with the wide throw at first base. Claude coming off the bag and just missing on that sweep tag there.
Now Jason LaRue has 4 RBIs today with a 2-run home run and a 2-run triple.
Well, you talk about the type of guys that the Cardinals are bringing in. Basically, they're guys that have pretty good arms with movement on their fastball. And Duncan works with them on making sure they throw strikes. If it's a mechanical issue, they got to work out. But he likes to work with the sinker ballers. And you're not going to find many hard throwers that you're going to be able to pick up because teams are going to guard the arms.
Another runner gunned down by John Buck. So Kennedy is retired. Cardinals scoreless in the 9th. Last chance for the Royals. (9-6) St. Louis. Royals coming up in the bottom of the 9th inning against Ryan Franklin. Immediately after the game, stay tuned for Boulevard Royals Live with Joel Goldberg and Frank White. Brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City's beer. Scheduled hitters are Ross Glow, John Buck, and Joey Gathright. At the moment, Billy Butler is holding a bat on the stairs inside the Royals dugout. Ryan Franklin got the last 2 outs of the bottom of the 8th inning, gave up an RBI single along the way. The run was charged to McClellan. They're trying to give Tony La Russa 5 outs. 0-2. Single and a run scored in the 4th inning. A sac fly in the 5th. Glow has hit in 8 straight games.
Glow's done a good job of getting on base in this series. He's on base a couple times here last night.
Great play by Kennedy, sliding, and then an athletic play getting to his feet, doing it gracefully and throwing out Glow.
Brian, the key on this play is to get to the ball and be on balance to where you can do something with it. And it's hard to be going full speed and reach out to get extended over your feet like Kennedy was going to have to do there. That's why you go down to the slide. It takes you down to the level of the ball to where you see it into your glove. And if you're planning the slide, you can do the pop-up slide like you would on the bases, wheel and fire.
0-1 to John Buck. He's walked his last 3 plate appearances. Grounded out in his first at bat in the 2nd inning. (0-2). Buck has 13 plate appearances against Franklin. Only 3 hits, but 2 of those hits were home runs. And again, under the chin.
Ryan Franklin is a guy that Dave Duncan has not done a nice job with. The conversion from starter to reliever was made before he goes to St. Louis, but from 2 years ago to last year, he took 1.5 points off his earned run average. 69 appearances a year ago and an ERA of just over 3 points for Franklin. That's well down from where he was as a starting pitcher and also as a reliever with Philadelphia and Cincinnati.
And Split, to add to our conversation from last inning and talking to Dave Duncan, he just believes that when you get a guy like Franklin or Kyle Loesch or Joel Pinheiro or Todd Wellemeyer, that instead of trying to fix what the pitcher doesn't do well, just enhance what he already does well. And Franklin has struck out 2 in his inning and a third, and now Billy Butler is going to bat for Joey Gathright with 2 down in the 9th inning. So Billy Butler bats for the first time. Billy was on deck in the bottom of the 9th inning last night with 2 outs. Ross Gload flied out to end the game, so Billy never got to home plate. And popped up to the left side. Brendan Ryan, the shortstop, wants it. He has it. And the St. Louis Cardinals, after losing the first game of the series on Friday, come back and win the next 2 and take the series. So that snaps the Royals' string of consecutive series victories. They had won 4 in a row and were on their way to a 5th straight after winning 7-2 on Friday. But the Cardinals with a 5-1 victory last night and 9-6 this afternoon. St. Louis doing most of its damage early in the game with a 5-0 lead at the end of 3 and scoring 7 of their 9 runs off of Ryan Bannister, who had won his last 2 starts. Jason LaRue, the former Royal, with a big game on offense, a home run, a triple, and 4 RBIs. Time now for Boulevard Royals Live.
This is the Royals Live postgame show, presented by Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City's beer.
Welcome into Boulevard Royals Live as our play of the game, Albert Pujols back home, hitting his 17th home run of the year in the 6th inning, and 9 runs from the Cardinals, good enough to take the series. And Ryan Franklin with his 11th save of the year, and he does it coming in pitching in part of a couple of innings. We're joined right now by Ryan Franklin, and first off, talk about the 8th inning there and coming in a big jam, knowing that it's going to be more than a 3-out save for you.
Yeah, I was really trying to get a ground ball right there off Grzelcyk and off Guillen also, but I kind of got a little on the side of my sinker, and Guillen popped up, which is all right, but I maybe left that little slider up a little bit on Grzelcyk just so he could kind of poke it in left field.
And you're able to get the strikeout against Mark T, and what's the approach there?
Well, I mean, I pounded him in hard, you know, in my first 2 pitches, and then I tried to throw a backdoor curveball, and it came a little low. Then I knew if I could just dot a 4-seamer away, you know, I figured I might have him.
You're a guy that's been a starter in this league. You've been a setup man. What's it been like closing for you this year?
It's a lot of fun, man. It's a good adrenaline rush when you get going out there, and you come in tight situations, runners on like that, and man, if you can't get up for something like that, you might have checked yourself.
Good job today. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, that is Ryan Franklin, an Oklahoma native, so not all that far from home, picking up the 11th save of the day and helping the Cardinals preserve a 9-6 victory. We've got more Boulevard Royals Live with Frank White coming up from Kauffman Stadium, 9-6 the final.